this is an animal holocaust and that people who are non-vegan are worse than Hitler in the Holocaust and slave owners during slavery. Please explain to me. And I said, you know what? Would you walk up to an African American on the street and tell him that his lifestyle and his diet is worse than slave owners during slavery? And he said no. He said he would not do that. So I thought for a second, maybe he does have morality. Maybe he is a good guy. But then he said, but I believe it's worse. I just won't tell it to him because I'm a coward. He said, I believe what we're doing to animals is worse than the Holocaust and worse than slavery. And I got really upset, and then he blocked me. Now, this is a guy, he's a self-proclaimed debate bro. Now, I have debate bro in my profile in quotations to mock the people that consider themselves debate bros. He has in his profile with no quotations. He literally believes he is a debate bro, which is crazy because he's not that good a debater. He also grifts $80 an hour to analyze debates of others, $60 an hour to coach you on debating, and $50 an hour to answer questions on so-called nutrition science. So there you can see his grifting. Next up, and you can follow on this, Fred, him and his followers love to use ableist language to describe their own followers and others. I was called the R word countless times in the last 5 days, RETARDED. He literally says most vegans are the R word. Wow. Really, really great way to reach out to your own, calling them the R word. Now, if we move on, vegan David Koresh, Nick, he got humiliated in this debate where he claimed the natural world is filled with death and destruction, things I find morally problematic, and I advocate for its non-existence. Zach, we're going to play some clips now. This was a debate he had with a non-vegan doctor, and he said some things that I'm still recovering from hearing, and we'll get into it. Take a listen to vegan David Koresh, who's also at Uproot Nutrition, Nick, proven fraud and grifter, and this is his views on veganism in the world. Just play it, Zach. Go to the tape.
And I advocate for displacing the wild world into non-existence, right? Like I think the natural world is actually morally problematic, and I advocate for its non-existence.
So go. I'm sorry. Can you expand upon that? What does that mean? You advocate for getting rid of the natural world, and we live in a.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The natural world is filled with death and destruction, things I find morally problematic. So why wouldn't I?
What would you replace that with?
Human infrastructure.
Human infrastructure, and and you're saying we would do a better job as humans.
Yeah, I would even go so far as I think the end goal should be to ditch this ball because it's a liability in and of itself.
But a lot of people might find that problematic.
It's fine. People are free to think that I have a weird position.
Just on that, Sean, like, do you see where he's coming from there? I haven't given this.
I can see his argument. I would disagree with that pretty. I don't think
disagree that if you make human infrastructure over where there's usually a huge amount of suffering and death and rights violations, most likely there's huge of that.
So I guess if we're calling a rights violation a lion eating a zebra, would that fall into your definition of a rights violation?
On my definition, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Obviously, that is.
Would you disagree?
I would disagree.
But what do you think the animal being eaten would think?
It would suck. I wouldn't like to be eaten.
I feel like their rights are being violated?
Yes. I think they're being murdered. They're being killed. Well, not murdered. They're being killed. Right. Yeah. The animal, it doesn't. But what about the animal that starves to death? What about the animal that needs to eat? Should we violate their rights so they don't get to eat and they die anyway? Is that any better?
For some animals, yeah, absolutely. But I also think that animal procreation is problematic. Non-human animal procreation is problematic. I don't even advocate for most animals to exist to begin with.
Wow.
I was going to say this earlier. You keep on referencing things that you've heard other vegans say. I would just ignore pretty much anything that you've ever heard from any other vegan because it's very unlikely that you've ever met another vegan like me.
Well, he finally told the truth there. Yeah, that's there's really no words there. Zach, what do you think about those statements?
I'm so taken aback. My yarmulke fell off. So well, it sounds like on the surface he cares about animals, but then he doesn't really care about them because he wants to get rid of them all. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, he wants to just murder, genocide them, but he also wants to do some things to humans. We'll get to that in a second. Are we ready? So,
wow.
Yeah, as it turns out, he also has some other strange beliefs. Somebody reportedly claims that he lies about being a true vegan. that he actually eats things like oysters, and he tells people that most vegans are stupid and it's easier to change the movement from the inside than be honest. So he has no problems lying to immerse himself into their world. He has no issues making up definitions, and such as vegan, negative rights, and contradiction. He has admitted to me that if he had a magic button, he would genocide anyone who couldn't financially or genetically survive on a vegan diet. You heard that right. Hey, welcome back to the Space Roast. So anyway, let's keep moving. Vegan David Koresh, Nick, claims he's a debate bro, but when confronted or challenged, typically runs or creepily requests a private voice call to, quote unquote, settle this. When I challenged him, he blocked me, put me on a list called RETARDS, the R word. I'm not going to say it. And then he put me on another childish list called the cuck list. They really like this word, cuck. I keep hearing cuck from them in the R word, and we'll explain what kind of subculture these people come from in a second and how it's based on a lot of racism and anti-Semitism. He wanted to try to publicly mock me by putting me on that list, and then he posted it to his followers. He proceeded to personally attack me behind a block with 5 separate tweets, misrepresenting my claims, misrepresenting the truth about veganism and the truth about animals, which he lies for profit. Now, to me, and I said this, I think any grown man who has a cuck list immediately loses any credibility. That's an opinion, but I think it's a pretty good one. For those wondering what a cuck means, it's been used as an insult, especially in online and political context, to imply that a man is weak, submissive, or incapable of defending his masculinity. It's typically known as an offensive slang term with roots in old world about infidelity, now mainly used to insult masculinity and political stance, often with misogynistic and racist undertones. And that will be a running theme here as we find out that a lot of these people are truly bigots. Now his views get a little darker as we learn. Vegan David Koresh, who I can't diagnose him, but he seems to have a lot of sociopathic vibes. He doesn't seem to have what's known as empathy or morality. This is someone who, reminds me of when I watched the show Mindhunter, and you saw the serial killers and their mindsets. He has that same mindset. He has even more disturbing views. His position is that we should strive to leave this planet and seek out better planets because the Earth is hostile towards Homo sapiens and we'd likely be better off on other planets. No words, really no words. And by the way, he's been grifting since 2017 on X, but he's not really doing that great a job. Doesn't even have 10,000 followers. Weak. Then, of course, a lot of his cultists started attacking me once he blocked me. And I say cultist, not follower, because you guys are my followers, and I love you guys, but you don't agree with a lot of what I say, and you have no problems telling me, believe me, right? Like, we argue on a lot of things. Like, we have an anti-Zionist co-host. We have a conservative co-host. We have Zach, whatever he is. We've got Roast, and Roast is, Roast. We got a vegan Dr. John co-host. That's what's so great about our space is that we'll have a lot of people with different opinions. It doesn't matter. But the difference is these people aren't followers. They're cultists because they aren't able to. They don't have the capacity to. They aren't legally, basically, in their minds. They're not capable of independent critical thinking or criticizing their leader. They're not allowed to. And I didn't see one time where any single person criticized their leader for anything he said. They were just there to defend him. This person believes... This Henry person, he believes in a vegan dictatorship where non-vegans are forced by law to eat a vegan diet. Now, he did clarify that he wants to try this with the democratic way first. So, like, first, in a democratic world, he'll try to get laws passed where everyone's forced not to be non-vegan, where you're forced to be vegan, where all the farms are closed, etc. If that doesn't work, then he'll institute a dictatorship where you'll be forced to choose his diet that he believes is best. Because, of course, that's really makes a lot of logical sense. That's not at all anything like what happened in World War II. Okay, so then we keep going. And then we find this other guy. This guy, ask yourself, really creepy dude. He slides into my DMs. And he's like challenging me to come on his Discord to get gang teamed by a number of these young, white, and hostile, likely racist and anti-Semitic like extremists who think that they're superior to other people. No thanks, I say, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you because I don't think you are educated on the Holocaust. And I think when you're using that word, if you're not educated, you don't have a right to use a word you're not educated on. If you're going to exploit and appropriate the Holocaust, first learn about the Holocaust. Have some higher education. I've been studying it for 32 years, ever since I went to Poland when I was 18 years old. I've taken higher level classes. I've been all around the world, from Israel and Yad Vashem to the Holocaust Museum in DC, where I was literally living back when it opened. I was there like every week. And I've studied for decades this topic, and you want to come in here and pretend you're some scholar of the Holocaust? You know nothing. So I was polite and I offered him my time to teach him about the Holocaust because he's never studied it. The thought was maybe if he understood the history, he would stop spreading such hateful rhetoric. I spoke to him about my time in Poland inside the gas chambers at Auschwitz-Birkenau, watching people in my group literally breaking down on the floor and screaming, shaking from the pain of knowing where their ancestors were massacred. His reply? Not reading all that trash. Yep. So, if you look down below one of his tweets, anti-vegan Jews are probably the only group that's more annoying than anti-vegan leftists. If you're a Jew who supports gas chambers, you are the absolute effing epitome of a clown. Holy F, the cringe on that view is actually inconceivable. And by the way, he's not talking about the gas chambers in Auschwitz. He's appropriating the Holocaust to talk about animals. I'm not kidding. Now look, we'll continue a couple more things. If you keep going down the thread, one of the more disturbing or heartbreaking or sad things that I discovered was this tweet by Nick, aka David Koresh, vegan David Koresh. Being vegan comes with some pretty rough social consequences because you suddenly lose respect for everyone around you, including your friends and family, to the point where you don't even really want to be around them anymore because their behavior disgusts you to the core. And that just broke my heart, because you only get one life, Nick. There are no do-overs. And I know you're young and you're not that educated yet in the ways of the world, but I will tell you something, as a father of two young, beautiful girls, 11 and 9, and a wife, that there is nothing more important in this world than your friends and family. And you ostracizing them from your life because of your extremist views is going to cause you a lot of pain. And I will tell you this, as you guys know, I am a betting man, and I would bet my entire life savings that when you're on your deathbed, and I hope it's a long time from now, I hope you live a long and healthy life, but when you're on your deathbed and nobody's around you because you've ostracized your friends and your family, you will regret these decisions that you made now. So think of this like a time machine. If you're listening to this, and you probably are because you're a narcissist, and think of this like a time machine where you can go back and you can change that right now. Instead of being on your deathbed regretting the choices you're making, taking and removing all of the people that care about you from your life over your personal beliefs about veganism, and welcome them back and save yourself. One last thing before I get to the next section, and there are going to be 3 different sections here. One of their followers wrote this. He believes that my view is insane, meaning to not appropriate and exploit the Holocaust. The animal Holocaust, again, they really believe this. The animal Holocaust is obviously worse than the Jewish Holocaust for at least 2 reasons. Number one, and I quote, the animals holocausted are mostly innocent, unlike a random Jew. I don't think I have to read any more. This is what they believe. This is what they believe, people. And I do want to thank someone for sending me this link here. One of the ways to ensure that the Holocaust will never happen again is to tell the story of the Holocaust and educate future generations. We consider this tendency to make Holocaust parallels a form of Holocaust denial. For us, this cannot be tolerated, and that comes from James E. Kurzer Roberts, Director of Policy at the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies. So here we have with white supremacists, with neo-Nazis, with Holocaust deniers, with the most disgusting racist human beings, with xenophobic people, with dark conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, virus deniers, some of the darkest people on the planet I've experienced for the last 10 years, but nothing has prepared me for the darkness I saw inside what's left of the souls of these desperate folk. So let's continue. Now, when you break down, a lot of people, we got into a lot of arguments about why this is wrong. To me, it's not about, again, I'm not arguing about veganism. That's fine. That's fine. My issue is with the rhetoric used from these extremists. And so when you're going to misappropriate, when you're going to appropriate or exploit the Holocaust, you got to look at this at two levels. One, does the comparison, is it equal? Is it a true comparison? Which I objectively think it's not, and I'll get into why in a little bit. But that's not something I'm here to debate, okay? Because even if you think it is, even if you think the comparison is valid, should you still make the comparison knowing you can use other words if you're going to harm Jewish communities and if you're going to harm African American communities? That's the question. Because even if the comparison is valid, why would you not choose words that wouldn't harm those communities? And so that's kind of the framing here, and where they're going to get stuck. But where the big issue though that I have, and this is how I'm going to start now. Second to catch my breath here. The real ironic part of all of this is that these people claim they use this language because it helps their cause. And they think the ends justify the means. Sure, we'll hurt Jewish people, we'll hurt African American people, but we'll save the lives of animals. But the ironic part is that they're not doing that. That using this language has been proven by multiple peer-reviewed studies and lots of papers to actually harm their own movement they pretend that they care about. So here we have a couple facts. Number one, the rhetoric they choose is harmful to Jewish communities, is harmful to African American communities. And number two, it's harmful to the vegan community. So you are actually harming animals by driving people away from your movement, especially those on the fence. And you're also harming the communities, the Jewish communities, the African American communities. It is a lose-lose with no benefits. So then why are they doing it? There are only three reasons. Number one, racism and anti-Semitism, which is part of this movement. Number two, clout chasing and grifting. They don't care about animals. They're not actually trying to make a difference here. They're only doing this to spread shock value, get subs, get likes, get retweets, get people to sign up for their streams. And number three, some of them probably know what they're doing is wrong, but it's so ingrained in what they've been saying and the movement that they've been in for so many years that they don't want to admit they're wrong, and the pride kicks in. Those are really the only three possibilities. You can't say that they're doing it to help their movement, because I'm about to show you 14 resources, and that was only a small sample, bringing the receipts of why that's absolutely 100% objectively false, that they're harming the vegan movement, they're harming animals, and they're harming the Jewish and African American communities. And we're going to break it all down very soon. I'm going to take a quick break before I get to those resources, because I have our vegan co-host, Dr. John's here with his hand up. Dr. John, give me a little
Not gonna
break,
lie, this
catch
is the
my breath,
dumbest
and then I'll
fucking
come right
ramble
back.
I've ever fucking
Oh my
heard.
goodness, that was. I
Oh, I'm just
missed
getting
like
warmed up. I'm just getting warmed
I
up.
missed the first few minutes, but I agree with what you said. A lot of it, and my thing is, some people say, "Oh well, don't tone police and don't, and we're not that extreme, and it's not going to make a difference." Well, as someone that has, converted, I started out being, Metasaurus, and then I guess 2000 I became a vegetarian. And then last year at New Year's, I, went finally, went the vegan route. And so, if I would have seen this kind of stuff, I'd like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? I kind of remember the PETA ads back in the day. And here's my thing is like, I am totally down for no harming animals, but I think what these people don't ever say, and which what really irritates me, is being vegan is very cost prohibitive. Like, what are these people supposed to do? Like, not eat food at all just because like if you go to like Whole Foods or any of these places that you can get these foods, like it is not cheap. And my grocery bill probably extreme, but also it's a privilege thing. And don't get me wrong, like I wish everybody would go vegan, but I'm not going to shove it down their throat, quite literally. And
Yep.
to me, what the fuck's wrong with you? And I'm gonna like walk away. So, like I said, but what really irritates me more than anything is the elitist and privileged nature that it's so easy to be vegan. Like if you really dig down to your food sources, what you wear, what you drive, everything, like, am I supposed to return my car I got in 2020 before I was vegan because it has some leather in it? Like my shoes I had before 2020. I mean, like, how ultra do you go? Now, that being said, I'm more conscientious about it than I used to be. Um, but I'm not going to waste what's come before. And there's crazy shit on all sides, but the privilege, the elitism, and the extremism is a problem.
Yeah.
And you're going to be seen as an extremist group unless you actually make points without saying you're evil or this is the real Holocaust. And just, I missed most of it, but you tagged me in to that thread and everything. Either it was, I think Horace said it's either a really big troll or this guy truly has problems that
There's
none
some
of us
mental
can
illness.
fix.
There's some mental illness involved. Okay, yeah, Dr. I
Okay.
really appreciate that. Guys, everyone who's up, give me a second. I got 2 more sections to get to. I've worked hard on this, so I want to make sure I outline it because a lot of people asked for where my receipts are, and here comes some receipts. Now, several social science and rhetorical studies have directly examined the use of Holocaust or slavery comparisons in vegan and animal rights rhetoric, and they find that such analogies often alienate audiences, trigger moral outrage, and damage the movement's credibility. And this is on top of hurting both Jewish and African American communities while minimizing the horrors they both faced. Let's just break this down really quickly. Obviously, we're not going to go through each of these papers. Number one, we got a Science Direct study from 2024, Racism, Speciesism, and the Argument from Analogy. This paper critiques the use of slavery and Holocaust analogies to legitimize anti-speciesist arguments. It reports that those comparisons are widely interpreted as offensive or trivializing historic oppression, causing defensive reactions and moral disengagement among audiences who might otherwise be sympathetic. You're going to start to see a running theme about damaging your own movement by using these rhetorical offensive comparisons, and you're also going to see about especially the moderates, the people that are on the fence, about harming them. Then we have an MIT Holocaust as offensive. It highlights that drawing such analogies distracts from ethical debates by provoking emotional backlash and accusations of anti-Semitism or racial insensitivity, therefore hindering effective advocacy. Then let's go to another paper from 20. Messages activate identity-based defensiveness and diminish openness to change, particularly among moderates. Peer-reviewed paper. Animal rights. Here we go. Number 4. Animal rights, vegan activism, and Holocaust comparisons from 2021. This is written by a Jewish vegan activist. She did an analysis and found that invoking the Holocaust or animal slavery rarely converts skeptics and usually causes offense or emotional distress to the descendants of victims. You're causing emotional distress to descendants of victims and you don't care. That's just sociopathic. People exposed to these analogies often dismiss veganism entirely out of anger or discomfort. You don't think. Vegan influencers, number 5, keep comparing meat eating to the Holocaust and slavery. Vice did an entire story on this. Their coverage of online activism found that prominent figures using the "End the Animal Holocaust" and "Abolish Animal Slavery" slogans deepened public resentment and particularly alienated Jewish and Black communities. Experts cited say such rhetoric reproduces privilege and exclusion in a movement already criticized for lacking intersectionality. Number 6, this is a Veganuary campaign rhetoric study. This was a study, this thesis investigated the rhetoric of this campaign, a vegan campaign, and finds that the inclusive, community-oriented strategies fostered much greater engagement than polarizing aggressive rhetoric. The study concludes that alienated messaging undermines participation and effectiveness in expanding veganism. Lo and behold, better messaging, softer messaging, and not using hate speech actually works. Number 7, Nature, Humanities, and Social Sciences Communications. This comes to us from 2022. This analysis of the Veganuary's 2000 actually treating non-vegans as human beings, actually respecting each other. That actually works. We can be your allies. You can't make change by yourself. You're 1 to 2 to 3% of the world, whatever it is. 97% of the world, you can't alienate them. You need their help. You need their resources. You need their money to evoke change and reduce animal suffering. Number 8, this comes from a model and analysis of PETA and animal justice advocacy. This peer-reviewed study demonstrates that shock tactics and emotionally extreme analogies often used by reducing advocacy impact. Number 9, Political Science Review of Vegan Activism from Frontiers. Comparative research finds that confrontational approaches in vegan activism are less effective than diplomatic, respectful ones, especially among young people. Backlash is documented when advocacy is received as hostile or morally reproachable, like making comparisons to the Holocaust or slavery. Number 10, Animal Rights Activism Effectiveness Guide. This actually comes from their own group, vegan.com. This advocacy guide, synthesizing findings from all kinds of organizations, vegan organizations, warns that militant or accusatory language, especially analogies to atrocities like the Holocaust, alienates political potential allies. Diplomatic, fact-based, and empathetic conversation is repeatedly shown to be the most productive method. Number 11, recognizing exploitation and rejecting analogy, an analysis of the animal rights rhetorical tradition. This academic analysis concludes that drawing parallels between animal exploitation and human atrocities such as slavery or the Holocaust fails to acknowledge the unique political and cultural context of those human experiences. This paper argues that these analogies frequently trigger moral backlash and accusations of appropriation, particularly from Jewish and Black audiences, undermining support for vegan causes. The study emphasized that activists who abandon such analogies in favor of empathetic, context-sensitive language are perceived as more credible and more persuasive. Lo and behold, number 12, Abolition Then and Now, Tactical Comparisons Between the Human and Non-Human Abolitionist Movements. This work traces the history of so-called abolitionist rhetoric and vegan activism and explicitly critiques Holocaust and slavery comparison. It cites scholars such as Kim from 2011 and François and Gardner from 2010, noting that while such analogies are intended to dramatize moral urgency, they often alienate potential new adherents and lack sensitivity to the historical suffering of human groups. The study advises that activists focus on the moral status of animals in their own right rather than through analogies with human oppression to avoid alienation and counterproductive backlash. The consensus across communication and psychology research is clear. While compassion analogies may seem morally powerful, to extremist historical atrocity comparisons tend to backfire by alienating potential allies, reinforcing stereotypes of moral arrogance and causing harm to communities whose suffering is being co-opted. Vegans invoking Holocaust or slavery comparisons not only offends those whose histories are evoked, but also weakens vegan advocacy's moral reach. Studies consistently show that equating animal suffering with the Holocaust or slavery actually harms the vegan movement's credibility, re-traumatizes affected groups, and narrows outrage effectiveness. Is 2 more before I finish. We got another one that rejects analogies between the Holocaust and slaughterhouses as conflating very different political and historical realities. It argues such comparisons create ethical blindness and erase the distinctiveness of both events, harming the credibility and effectiveness of animal advocacy. And the last one, also from MIT, highlights how comparisons of animal agriculture to historical human atrocities provoke accusations of insensitivity and trivialization. So again, these are just 14. There's a lot more. I just wanted to touch on that to show you that the irony is you can't even claim that this actually works. So it objectively doesn't, and it harms the movement. It drives people away, and it hurts the Jewish and African American communities. There is literally no benefit to doing what you're doing. So if you're doing it because you actually enjoy or like spreading such hateful messaging, or you just want to, set the world on fire or clout chase. But it can't be because you care about animals. It can't be. It's impossible for it to be true. And I just proved that with 14 receipts. All right, I'm going to take a breath, and here is my last speech. And by the way, the groups that we were talking about, this is before I get into it, the groups that like to use the word cuck and the R word, these are people that are stuck on Discord and streams all day, live in their parents' basement, have no employment. They're often linked to segments of the alt-right manosphere and certain online gaming and trolling communities. They tend to be overwhelmingly young white males, and pretty much every single person attacking me was a young white male. Many of them feeling socially or economically disfranchised, and they're drawn together by like I said, by this shared opposition to the world of the feminism, to progressive. And it's really, to see that the anti-Semitism, the racism, which is foundational in a lot of these groups' worldviews, it's basically like the key to their sense of identity and grievance in online behavior. And together, they just create such a vacuum of hate and a vacuum of disrespect. They really dehumanize anyone who doesn't agree with their view of the world. And it's really just sad.
I mean, truth,
Yeah.
this is really the whole black pill phenomenon, just in different ways, right? Like, they're basically doomsday, nihilistic, and I mean, just look, they all share that same thing. The world is fucked, and rather than think of solutions or how we're going to do it, they just burn it down. right? So that's all these guys in these extreme groups.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of these people don't understand. Like, here's the thing: it is Holocaust appropriation. Like, nobody, even they agree they're appropriating, exploiting the Holocaust. That's objective. Nobody's disputing that. They know what they're doing. They're not choosing the word randomly. They're not like looking in the dictionary. What word can we find that describes mass animal slaughter? Holocaust. We'll just, like, obviously they're intentionally choosing the word that is, known as the Jewish Holocaust for a reason. So what Holocaust appropriation is the problematic use of Holocaust symbolism, narrative, or analogy for purposes that do not honor or accurately represent its historical meaning, often resulting in trivialization or distortion of one of history's gravest atrocities. Here we go. This is my last segment, but this is the meat. This is the meat on the bone, so to speak. No pun intended. Vegan meat. Vegan meat.
No,
And,
you were doing so
hey,
well.
man, look, first of all, the irony of this is that you guys know that I'm vegan between meals. Okay, you okay?
Ugh,
That's I
all
had to
right,
throw some.
keep the
All
comedy,
right, so
Dan.
okay,
You're doing
all right,
righteousness.
okay. So here, here we go. I gotta get ready for this one. All right, deep breath. Are we ready? All right, I hopefully have enough. My mouth's getting dry. All right, here we go. Comparing animal agriculture to the Holocaust or slavery isn't deep or thought-provoking. It's moral bankruptcy. When certain extremists start throwing Auschwitz or chains of enslaved Africans into their imagery or rhetoric, they don't sound compassionate. They sound historically illiterate. Let's start with the actual comparison itself and why it can't work. The Holocaust and slavery were acts of human evil against humans, driven by ideology, racism, and dehumanization. Sentient beings suffered because they were stripped of human dignity, something only humans were denied by humans. The Holocaust and slavery are not rhetorical props. They're not metaphors. They're human nightmares so vast they defy comprehension. Atrocities carved into the flesh, the bone, into the DNA of entire people. Factory farming is industrial and cruel, absolutely. But it's not genocide, and no linguistic tricks can make it one. Equating them doesn't elevate animal suffering, it cheapens human tragedy. When factory farming raises real ethical concerns, while factory farming raises real ethical concerns, no doubt, it fundamentally differs from historical atrocities in moral category, intent, context, and victimhood. Historical genocides like the Holocaust involved deliberate and systematic targeting of human populations based on ethnicity, religion, or political identity with the goal of eradicating them from existence. Animal agriculture, even when inhumane at scale, operates from a premise of animal use for food, not from an ideological plan to eradicate an entire sentient species out of hatred, bigotry, or supremacist ideology. Mainstream moral philosophy and international human rights frameworks treat human-directed mass killings as uniquely egregious because humans possess complex self-awareness, higher order reasoning, cultural continuity, and moral agency. Animals are recognized as sentient and deserve welfare protections, but their moral status in most ethical theories differs from humans, especially regarding rights to political self-determination and cultural survival. Central elements of genocide definitions. A lot of people have trouble understanding the definition of what a genocide like the Holocaust is. Human atrocities like the Holocaust involve not only pain and death, but psychological terror, loss of loved ones, destruction of identity, family, and meaning. These suffering dimensions are uniquely human, rooted in memory, anticipatory fear of extermination, and social awareness of injustice. Animals experience pain and fear, but not existential despair, cultural obliteration, or the cognitive understanding of total annihilation. Humans' moral awareness means they suffer morally, both as victim and as witnesses to evil on a level animals cannot even conceive. The moral degradation inflicted upon perpetration in societies and genocide adds layers of harm. It adds layers of harm far beyond physical pain. And numerically large death counts, like some extremists like Nick, aka Vegan David Koresh, do not override differences in impact. For example, billions of insects die yearly without it being morally comparable to human mass atrocities because the qualitative context matters. When combining frameworks that claim that factory farming is comparable to a genocide like the Holocaust conflates the moral wrongness of suffering with the moral gravity of extermination. Suffering matters profoundly, but genocide's evil lies also in the intentional moral perversion, the knowing destruction of beings who share moral reason and agency. Animal cruelty deserves condemnation, but calling it the Holocaust a Holocaust is not only philosophically defective but historically insensitive. It erases the moral specificity of human evil. And let's talk about offense. Those analogies don't just spark outrage, they stab at old wounds. To Jewish communities who still carry the generational trauma of gas chambers and ghettos, to African Americans still grappling with the legacy of enslavement and systematic racism, these comparisons are salt poured in ancestral scars. You don't get to wear someone else's genocide as a costume for your activism. You don't get to recycle human atrocity for your cause, however moral your cause may be. That's not advocacy, that's exploitation. The Holocaust was not a metaphor. It was a crematoria cooking the remains of families into the sky. It was train cars packed so tight that children suffocated standing up. It was mothers clutching infants who would never see morning. You think showing a slaughterhouse image next to that is brave? It's grotesque. It's historical vandalism. It's Holocaust denial dressed up as activism, because every time you equate something else to Auschwitz, you make Auschwitz smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And slavery, that wasn't ownership or forced labor. It was centuries-long annihilation of language, kinship, and identity. Whole bloodlines erased, souls crushed, generation after generation, fuel for an empire that built its wealth on stolen lives. When you compare that to being non-vegan, you're not showing empathy. You're proving you don't understand horror or history. Every time you say this is like the Holocaust, you shrink it. Every time you say this is like slavery, you trivialize it. You're not raising awareness, you're stomping on graves, and you're doing it for clicks and social media. This isn't about advocacy, it's about clout chasing through outraged theater. Equating the Holocaust to animal agriculture diminishes the singular historical horror of the Holocaust by recasting it as a metaphor for other evils, precisely what Holocaust scholars and many Jewish survivors warn against. As Yad Vashem and Israel's Holocaust memorial institutions have empathized, analogies that place human genocide on the same moral plane as animal treatment slide into reductivism, eroding the Holocaust's historical specificity. For moral causes appropriate sacred memory for political or ethical ends. When vegans use Holocaust, when extremist vegans use Holocaust or slavery imagery, they don't just insult history, they hand ammunition to every critic who calls them extremist, detached, or anti-human. They torpedo their own movement, because here's the truth. This kind of moral grandstanding doesn't win people on the fence, as I proved with citations. It pushes people away objectively. People who might have listened, who might have changed, turn off your podcast, your stream, your YouTube video. The entire cause. You're not converting anyone. You're convincing the world that veganism is led by moral contortionists who trample human graves to make a headline. Every Holocaust or slavery analogy is a match tossed into your own credibility. You're burning your movement alive and acting shocked when people call you out. When you drag these atrocities into your slogans, you don't sound moral. You sound hollow. You sound cruel. You prove that while you may care about animals, and to be fair, that's debatable, you have zero respect for human beings. And when you void your own humanity to push a cause, congratulations, you've lost the moral authority to speak on morality at all. And for the Jewish community, for African Americans, you're not sparking conversation. You're trampling sacred memory. Every photograph of skeletal bodies in a concentration camp recontextualized as pigs in a factory. Every reappropriated image of chained men, women, and children compared to dairy cows. It's emotional vandalism. It's doubling down on wounds that never truly healed. And let's be crystal clear. Appropriating the Holocaust is not just crass. It's objectively backdoor denial. Every time someone trivializes Auschwitz to make a rhetorical point about diet, they help blur what the Holocaust was. Unprecedented, uniquely human, and deeply sacred to memory. Holocaust exploitation is Holocaust distortion, and Holocaust distortion is Holocaust denial. If you flatten history to fit your message, you're no better than those that wish to erase it. You are, and will always be, a Holocaust denier. So to all you self-anointed prophets of purity, here's your truth bomb. You don't speak for the voiceless. You trample the voices of the murdered. You're not the conscience of society. You're its corrosion. You don't wake people up. You numb them. You weaponized pity. You called it passion. You've hijacked real suffering, twisted it into your smug, pretentious ego trip, and set the bar for moral bankruptcy. Congratulations. You didn't save a single animal, but you buried your own humanity. You're not oppressed crusaders. You're moral exhibitionists mistaking disgust for death. You're not the voice of the voiceless. You're the poster child for moral narcissism. You don't speak for morality. You hide behind it because it's the only place your logic survives. You are not liberators. You are not liberators. You are looters of humanity's deepest wounds. Your lies end here. Your theft ends here. You're a cancer on the vegan cause. Everyone with a shred of integrity should walk away forever. And I land.
Cooked. Adrian, you didn't go down like that. Huh? He got cooked.
Thank you for listening. All right. And with that, we will bring in. Thanks, Zach.
Great last show.
People wanted to know my thoughts, and you just heard them. And I hope that people listening to this contemplate what you're doing. And I know some of you are lost and can't get out of the cult, but those that still have a chance, now's the time. And for those in the vegan community, call out these people, burn them down. They need to go. They need to go. They are a cancer on your cause. All right. And with that said, we will start to bring. You guys know where did he go?
No, I think Ethicals.
Okay.
Ethicals got him.
All right. So look, here's the rules here for other people talking. This is my space. You ain't gonna come in here and appropriate the Holocaust. If you do, you're gonna go. And you're gonna be mocked and shamed. You can come in here and you can tell me why you want to hate Jews and why you want to spread rhetoric that harms Jews. You cannot tell me that it helps your movement because I already proved it doesn't. That's done. That's been proven objectively. So you want to come up here and tell me why you take pleasure in spreading rhetoric that harms African American and Jewish communities, spits on the legacy of my ancestors, and objectively kills animals in the process as you push people away from the vegan cult that you've created. If you come up here and tell me I am an anti-Semite, I am a neo-Nazi, then I will appreciate the honesty. If you come up and tell me that no, I am not anti-Semitic and I am doing this because it helps my cause, then you're lying. And there will be no lies on this stage. You will need to bring 14 peer-reviewed citations to prove your claim. This isn't a democracy. This isn't me getting piled on like I was this weekend by some of the worst human beings society has to offer. People without morality, people who've lost their damn minds, people who want to murder and genocide human beings just because they don't believe in the same diet they believe in. The audacity for you to intentionally harm animals and human beings at the same time, you should be ashamed of yourself. So if you want to come up here, if you are part of that cult, you will apologize to the world first, or you will be removed. If somebody has 14 peer-reviewed studies that show not a single Jewish or African American person was harmed by your rhetoric ever in the history of the world, and it helps your movement, then I will apologize. But if you don't have the receipts,
I'm gonna get banned.
then you cannot come up here and lie. This isn't like the last 4 days where you could objectively lie to me, lie to my face, and spit on the legacy of my ancestors. We're taking down the extremists in the vegan movement. It's over for you guys. You lost. So you can come up here and apologize, or you can go. And I give you Dr. Whitfield. Thank you. This is a very emotional topic for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me too, but I kind of just I kind of ignore ignore it when they make these kind of comparisons. I do agree that it's a little bit hurtful, but I've been so accustomed to people trying to justify any new kind of struggle to chat slavery or to the Holocaust that I try to just block it out. I have a lot of views about this as well, and I know this is a vegan space, right? But I do think that the question is if you are gonna elevate animals to the same level of worth as human beings. I mean, I can see how some folks may logically get to that conclusion, right? If you're thinking that a cow is of equal value and worth in our society based on our laws, right? I can see how you can you can get to that conclusion. I reject that conclusion, but I can see how someone can begin to think like that, right? And I do think that, in my opinion, it's this the whole movement itself is a rejection of nature, because the idea, in my opinion, of veganism is that no animal is going to be harmed when you eat plants, which is totally a lie, right? It's based on ignorance, right? Even with agriculture, there are a lot of debt just to grow your quinoa, your spinach, your almond. We purposely kill animals in order for you to grow these products. When you clear down the land, you are actually purposely destroying habitats that are housing earthworms, crickets, rodents, snakes, so many different animals. And when you have to kill everything on the land and then grow that crop purposely. And then when you do grow the crop, you have to prevent other animals from eating your crop. So you actually have to shoot deer, you have to shoot foxes, you have to kill different animals. We invented pesticide. There's a reason why it's called pesticide, right? The utility is in the name. So you're literally killing other animals so that you can grow your one crop. So when you're eating that quinoa or whatever, it's not debt free, right? It's just that you're not eating dead animals. And I think where these guys are coming from is that what they are against is not the death of animals per se, is the fact that we are eating other animals. And that goes to my second point, which is what I'm saying, it's a rejection of nature. Because human beings literally, if you watch any documentary on human evolution, right? If you talk to any well-meaning, honest anthropologist, what distinguishes us from great apes? So we are part of the great ape family, right? We have chimpanzees, we have bonobos, we have orangutans, right? We have gorillas. These are great apes. We are also great apes. But what distinguishes us is that we started to consume copious amounts of meat. And because we began to consume meat, our intestine got smaller. We lost the ability to turn fiber into protein and fat. These other animals literally turn fiber into significant amount of fat. And when they use the bacteria in their colon, the other great apes, and when when the fiber is turned into fat, the bacteria does it. When the bacteria dies, they they digest the protein from the bacteria. So they're literally turning fiber into protein and fat. Human beings cannot do that, right? And so there's a reason why, because we started to eat so much meat, our hind got smaller, it got less sophisticated, and we lost that ability. It's actually called the expensive tissue hypothesis. You guys can look it up. And what happened is that our brain got a lot bigger and our intestine got a lot smaller. So my concern with this whole um and I know a lot of physicians are well-meaning. I know Dr. John is a vegan, but it's not based on high quality science. And even there was a study done in, I think, 1993. I posted it in the group, or 2000. It's a Kenyan study in which what they did, they had three different kids, right? Children, three different group of children. They randomized them into one group that ate a local dish called gutri and githeri, and githeri is basically maize, beans and vegetables.
Jesus fucking
And the
Christ.
other
This guy's
group
gonna keep going
ate
on and on
milk,
and
and
on.
the other group consumed meat.
Holy
And
fuck.
they randomized these kids into three different arms. And what they found is that the kids that ate meat, the growing children that ate meat, had higher IQ. They did better in maths. They did better in different school examination, they had better leadership skills. So they show that just adding meat to the diet actually improved the IQ, the intelligence of human beings. So where is the data to say that a vegan diet is number one, an appropriate diet for human beings, and number two, if it's healthier than a typical omnivorous diet? There is no data. A lot of this stuff is just kind of low quality studies that they've been cherry picking for the last 50 years to push this kind of plant-based agenda. And ultimately what it leads to is more processed foods. It leads to lower quality foods, lower nutrition, and worse human health. And I'll just kind of end it there for now.
Thank you. We can always circle back to you. Appreciate it. Look, at the end of the day, like, for me, this isn't about, you have a more strong view of the actual diet. I don't pretend, unlike some of the people I've been dealing with for the last 5 days, I don't pretend to be an expert in things I am not an expert in. I am not an expert in the vegan diet. By the way, sorry, I understand that it's a lifestyle and a diet. So for people who say that it's not a diet, no, it is a diet and a lifestyle objectively, because my friend practices a vegan diet once every 3 months for a month. So what is he doing if it's not a diet? Now I understand that other people, it's a lifestyle, it's an ethical position, it's a moral
He's
position.
practicing a plant-based diet.
Excuse me. Please don't interrupt me. That's not how it works. No. He's practicing a vegan diet. You can look up the definition.
No, vegan
At
is
this
an
space,
ethical position.
100% false objectively. Okay, you
No, he's
cannot lie
practicing
on
a
this
plant-based
space.
diet.
Okay, so you're not going to lie on the space, or you're going to be removed. Okay, look up what a vegan diet is. Okay, look it up. Google it. Google is your friend. You don't get to bring in feelings here. This is a facts over feelings. Okay. He literally has a coach that teaches him a vegan diet. It is literally documented. Okay. You can do a plant based diet if you want. That's your choice, but don't talk about other people. Do you understand? You don't have a right to tell other people what to do. That's part of your problem. You think you're smarter than other people when you're not. Do you understand? Do you think you're smarter than me? Yes or no? When it comes
I'm not
to
sure.
morality,
I'm not
are
sure.
you more moral than me?
Oh, I
Yes or
definitely think
no?
I'm more moral than you. Yes.
There we go. There we see the smugness and the pretentiousness. You're objectively not. You know nothing about me. How can you know how more? You could be a vegan who kills people on the weekends. That doesn't make you more moral. You're not better than me.
So you asked me
I
if I
will
thought I was.
promise you. No, but I will promise you you're not. I can prove it. The things I've done in my life, you will never do in your life because you're a fake activist. And you do not help the animal community by spreading hate objectively. I have given more money to your cause than you will ever give. I have made changes in farms that you will never do. I have done things that I never speak about because in Jewish tradition, which you spit on, by the way, not you, I'm using you as an, man, I'm not talking about you specifically, but the people who said that I'm evil for being Jewish. In Jewish tradition, it's called tzedakah, right? If you give money, but they see you give it, it has less meaning as if you do it if they don't see you give it. I do stuff that I don't talk about. You don't know anything about me for you to come on here and tell me you're more moral than me. Do you know how
It's
disgusting
also
that
true that
sounds?
you don't
And
know anything about me, though. So you're just kind
right,
of making that assumption.
but there's zero chance that you've done enough more to help animals
Okay.
than I have. Zero. How much? Okay, then let's talk
Okay.
about it.
Look, let's
How
just.
many farms? No. Hold on. No.
No.
This
We
is
don't need
not
to.
no. I
You're
want to
50
know how
years
many
old.
farms. I, yes, and
Let's
you're
just
a
say I'm 20 years
20-year
old.
old.
Like,
So okay,
I
right. So
think
do
that
you
I have
think?
a stronger ethical position than you do. I think
I
I live a
disagree.
more
I don't.
moral lifestyle than you do. Is that okay
I
to say?
disagree. I think your ethics, if you believe that hurting the vegan cause and harming the Jewish and African American community, I think it doesn't matter what you do to animals. You've already destroyed your credibility. Like if you go and wear blackface, which is what you're basically doing, and you hold up a sign that says vegans are murderers, you're a worse person than me. I mean, I think we'd all agree on that. But that's what you're doing with those comparisons. And I've already proved that they harm your movement. So now that you know they harm your
Well,
movement and they hurt Jews and
well,
African Americans, I've already proved it. I've already
it
proved it.
seems
So
like
we
you're just
can't go
making a
back
huge
there.
equivocation here, because like we've
No.
already
I want to ask
said
you a
what we
question.
meant
I
by the
want
word
to, excuse
Holocaust.
me,
No, we've already.
excuse me.
Yeah,
It
sure.
doesn't
Your
matter.
space.
No.
It's your space.
It doesn't
Go ahead.
matter what you mean by You can choose any
Well,
word you want, right?
You said Google
You
is your
choose the
friend,
one
so
that
go
harms
ahead.
Jews the most.
I
You
employ
choose
anybody
the
to
word
just
that.
Google
Why
the
do
word
you
Holocaust.
specifically? Yes, no,
And you
we
just said
know,
Google
we
is your
know.
friend. So Google the word
No,
Holocaust.
yeah,
The first
yes.
definition that comes up is an
What has
Epic
it been known?
Oxford
What has it been
definition,
known? Okay,
and
so you're.
slaughter on a mass scale.
Yes, we understand the talking points. Look, you can't do talking points in here because I'm better than talking points, okay? What do people think of when you say the word Holocaust? Do they think mass
They think of the
slaughter,
Jewish
or do they think that?
Holocaust.
Okay, so you admit you know what you're appropriating. So you do, we both agree
No,
that
I
you know
admit
what
that
you're appropriating.
that's what they think,
Since
right?
the
So
mid
they immediately
20th
think
century,
that. But then I just clarified my semantics.
Since the mid 20th century, the Holocaust has become a singular historical term referring to the Nazi genocide of 6 million Jews and millions of others. To invoke
Yes, I
Holocaust
understand.
in unrelated debates, it doesn't demonstrate
But,
linguistic
sir,
nuance. It
like,
desecrates the gravity of state-organized
sir,
extermination and the memory of its victims.
once it's clarified that the semantics are not meaning the
That's
Jewish
not how it
Holocaust,
works.
it's just
That's not how it works.
no,
You've
yes,
already
sure.
turned
Why
off
why can't
people.
it be how it works?
Because you've already worn the blackface. You can't be like, well, it's not
No, they're like,
offensive.
oh,
I
why are
don't
you
mean
talking about the
you've
Jewish
already
Holocaust? And then you're like, no, let
no.
me be clear. I'm
And I
just
just showed you
speaking
four. Okay,
slaughter on a mass
so
scale.
this
So
is what's
now
called
if
hand
you say
waving. This
anything
is what's called cope.
more
This is what's
towards
called
the Jewish
excuses.
Holocaust, you are now making an
Yes or no?
equivocation.
Can you choose a word? Can you choose a word that objectively doesn't harm the Jewish or African American community? Yes or no?
Yes, I could. The
Okay,
thing is, it's
and so
loaded.
you.
That's actually a loaded
No,
question.
it's
So
not a loaded question. It's not a loaded
yeah, it's
question.
a
It's
loaded
not a loaded.
question.
Okay, you already.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, regardless, you already
It's
said
got a
yes.
false.
And
It's got a false assumption in there.
no. You
Yeah, it does.
specifically
Yeah.
chose a word that's going to. Do you agree it causes harm to the Jewish community? I mean, we've
No,
already.
I
I mean,
don't
it
agree. I
causes me
don't
harm.
agree.
Okay,
I don't agree.
so you are saying that millions
I
of
mean,
Jews and African
I'm
Americans are lying.
agnostic. I'm
The
agnostic on
Holocaust
that.
Museum. You're saying the Holocaust Museum, every leading Jewish organization, millions of Jews, every Jew I know, my entire family, myself, every African American I know, everyone is lying but you.
Again, that's another straw man.
Yes or no? Yes or no? It's not a straw man. I am
Yeah,
hurt by
it's
it
a
and
straw.
I'm Jewish.
It's totally a
Are
straw
you
man.
hurting me as a Jewish
That's not
person?
what
Are
I'm
you
saying
hurting
at
me as
all. Like you literally just
Is
straw
it
man me. That's
possible
not
that
what I'm
using
saying at
that
all.
is you don't know what a straw man is? Look, you're 20 years old, you have a long life to live. Listen to me, I'm trying to teach you. What is your level of education on the Holocaust? How many higher level classes have you
I've
taken?
already clarified my semantics on the word Holocaust.
No. We
Anything that
understand
you
your talking
draw, any
points. Those are
parallels that you
talking
draw to the
points.
Jewish
Those are
Holocaust
talking
is
points.
your fault.
Those are
Like you're
talking
you're
points. No,
making an
it's no.
equivocation.
So you're
Why are you
saying
talking over me? Like just
so
let me
you
make the
you
point.
so you're no,
You
you
say
haven't made
that
a
you're
point.
interested in truth, but you won't even listen to my points.
You're not coming up here to give truth. You're giving excuses. You're saying we chose the
I'm
word not to mean the
are
Jewish
you here
Holocaust
to
when
communicate?
nobody
Are we
buys
here
that.
to understand
Nobody.
each other?
So answer my question. Answer my question. Can you choose another word that doesn't harm Jewish people?
That's a loaded question. I'm not going
How
to answer
do
the
you know
loaded
what does a
question.
loaded question mean? What does a loaded question mean?
Yeah, it has a false assumption within the question. A
Do
false
you
premise.
think that people could be harmed by that
If I
rhetoric?
answer the question, it's almost like I'm affirming the
Well,
premise.
you already said yes, so you
Well, yeah,
already
but
lost
the
on that
thing
one.
is, it's a kind of fucking knee-jerk reaction, that one, and then I realized it was
Well,
a loaded
but
question.
also
So,
it's a lot. Okay,
it's okay
but
to walk back. You know that people can do that, right?
not no, because it's objectively the answer is objectively yes, because obviously you get to choose your messaging you use. You
Okay,
personally do
can
not
you
have to use
repeat to
that
me
word.
the point that I made then?
The point that you made was a talking point excuse. You're saying, well, we didn't mean the Jewish Holocaust. If people recognize that, then they just it's just a coincidence. It
No,
may
that's not the
sounds
point
the
I made.
same.
That's not the point I made.
You haven't made one point yet. I'm asking you a question. What is your
Can you
level
repeat
of
the point that I
Holocaust?
made?
I'm
If
asking
you
you a
actually
question.
want to understand me, then just
I don't have any respect for someone that desecrates the Holocaust and it laughs
well,
about it.
again, I
So
just told you that I'm
you,
not even talking about the Jewish
it,
Holocaust. When I say the animal
yes,
Holocaust, I'm just
right,
talking
right.
about slaughter on a mass scale. So,
When I wear
oh my
blackface,
god,
I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about people that just have darker skin, right? That's what you just said to me. I
no,
reject
because
that answer.
that's an
Yes,
equivocation.
I
That's a
reject it. No, it's
straightforward
not.
equivocation.
You
I've
are
already given
there
you my
is you're
semantics, and you
smart enough
literally
to
just
know.
said
You're smart
that
enough.
the semantics I'm using is the Jewish Holocaust. So
Answer
now
me the
you're just
question.
making equivocation. Do you know what an
Okay, so you're just
equivocation is?
arguing to argue. You're
Do you
just
know what an
arguing to argue.
equivocation is? Yes or no?
I asked the questions. I'm asking you a question.
Oh,
What is your
okay,
level
okay.
of Holocaust
I'm sorry. I didn't
education?
realize
What
this
is your
was a
level?
one-sided conversation. You want to just talk at me again? You want to do another 1 hour monologue or like what?
Well, I absolutely crushed every single one of your talking points, and you literally, like,
Can you tell
literally
me
have
what an
nothing left.
equivocation is?
I'm not going to answer your questions until you
Okay, you
answer
don't know what an
mine.
equivocation is.
Okay,
Like, what's
no,
the point of
okay. So
talking
this
to
is
you?
your last
You're an
chance. We're going to
absolute
move on to someone
time
else.
waster. Like,
Okay, so good. So you think so?
the
You
real
lie
truther.
about the
You're just
Holocaust. All right,
like,
so you're
come
just
on,
here to
man.
attack people. Nobody
No,
is
I'm
buying
here
what
to
you're
actually
selling.
try to
No,
communicate to you, but I'm failing to
you're
communicate to you
how many
because you're
you
not
that
even listening to
answer
me.
me the question. Answer me the question. What is
A
your
loaded
level of
question.
Holocaust education? What is your? It's not a loaded question. I do not
I would
believe
say I
people
have
can exploit.
minimal like Jewish
How,
Holocaust education because
why
I
did you
didn't
say Jewish
study it in.
Holocaust? There's only one Holocaust. There's only one Holocaust.
You just said Holocaust, and I know
What
what
is
you mean by Holocaust
no?
because you've clarified like a
No,
thousand
not
fucking
because I
times over the
clarified.
last
There's
few
only
days.
one Holocaust. There's only one Holocaust. What's your
Well, there.
level of the one and only Holocaust? What is your
You're
level
saying
of
there's
the
only
one and
one
only Holocaust?
definition for the word Holocaust, and I disagree.
I'm telling you, there's only one Holocaust.
That's your.
So tell me.
That's just
Okay, so
straightforwardly false by
well,
just
you
Google it.
could. It's
Google. You
subjectively
said,
true that
don't you
there's.
believe in Google? Go
Okay,
look at
okay.
Google.
So
You
it's
said,
it's okay.
have faith in Google. That was your words.
Okay.
Google
Yes.
it.
So you're telling
Everybody
me
Google it
what
right
is
now.
your level of the one and only Holocaust? Tell me your level of the one and only Holocaust. So you have none.
Truther,
You have
can
none.
I
What do you
try to
mean?
bridge this gap 1 second?
Well,
I think
yeah. So I just want to clarify before we end this. Virtual is admitting he's never taken a single class on the one and only Holocaust. He's never learned about it. Never gone to Poland. Never gone to Israel. Never gone to even to the museum in D.C. So you know nothing about the event that you're exploiting for your cause that actually harms your cause. Can we all agree on that? Well, let's just end there on this. We agree that the exploitation of the event that harms your cause and hurts and kills animals objectively and drives away African Americans and Jews, you don't know anything about. Can we agree that you haven't taken a single class?
Yeah, I haven't taken
Okay.
any formal
Okay, great.
education
Great.
on the
All right.
Holocaust.
That
I
explains a
think I
lot.
could
That
bridge this
explains.
gap. I think I
Okay,
bridge
go
this
ahead,
gap.
JT. Go ahead, JT.
Virtual,
That
virtual.
literally just
Obviously,
proved my point.
obviously, Truther is very, he's sensitive about the word Holocaust, and you want to
Yes.
express that an animal Holocaust is happening because animals are being killed to fulfill human needs. Correct? I just want to
Yeah,
get that.
I just
Okay,
wanna, yeah, absolutely. I just want to
perfect.
describe the
So
mass slaughter of animals,
got it,
and
got
I
it.
just used the word animal
So
Holocaust.
let's not get hung up
Why
by
not use
that
mass
word.
slaughter?
Can we use
Well, it's just
animal
an appropriate
genocide
word.
instead?
No,
It's not an
I
appropriate
wouldn't.
word.
No, I don't. Well, what do you mean by genocide?
Well, a genocide is a intentional killing of a
For a
group
race,
of a group
ethnic.
of right. So if you say it's like, I don't know why you're hung up on the word Holocaust. You keep
Well,
insisting
on
on it.
those semantics, if it's just an intentional killing of like a group, then I guess you could call it a genocide. That's not the way I view the word genocide. Genocide is
Well,
usually
how do you
trying to
view the word genocide?
yeah, I usually think of it more of like you're trying to exterminate the group or race. Like it's like you're attempting to exterminate them. I don't think that we're intending to exterminate animals. We're just like mass breeding them in like a infinite rotation of like death and slaughter and suffering.
Right, but the Holocaust is a genocide. So using the word Holocaust, you're saying it's a
Well,
genocide, but it's
I
not a
think the
genocide by any
Jewish
definition.
Holocaust was a genocide, yes. I
There's
just
only
don't
one
think that the
Holocaust.
animal
There's only one
Holocaust
Holocaust.
is a genocide.
There is no animal Holocaust. That's a mental illness.
Okay,
Like you literally have a mental
you're
illness.
downplaying the animal
No, no, no,
Holocaust.
no.
You're
No,
just
there is
like,
no animal. I
yeah,
can't.
you're just
So how?
I just
So how are
I've
the
already
baby? What about the
clarified
baby
what I'm
Holocaust? What about the
saying.
baby Holocaust?
All you're
What about the
doing
baby
now
Holocaust?
is
Virtual, you're talking over me.
yeah,
You're doing exactly what you said. There is no animal Holocaust outside of your
but
fantasy
you're
in your head. This is
equivocating.
some.
Okay.
What? Let me ask you a question. Do you enjoy the animals that die
I'm not
because
even
of your
I
words?
honestly don't
Yes or
like,
no?
do you actually know the word equivocation? Because this is like a
Okay.
very
I'm not
easy
going
like
to
point.
answer any gotcha questions. I am going to tell you that you objectively harm more animals than I will ever harm in my entire life. You don't save a single animal by what you're doing. So,
You don't
and
know
I've
anything
proven
about
that.
me, so
No, yeah, you just said you used that word, and I already proved that word harms the cause. Do you recognize the 14 peer-reviewed sources that I supplied to show that that
it's
word actually
irrelevant to
harms?
anything I'm talking about.
So it's irrelevant
I'm
that
not
you are
making a
killing
comparison to the
animals,
Jewish
but you're
Holocaust.
killing animals.
I'm not
You
making any
are.
comparisons to the Jewish
There
Holocaust.
is
No,
only
I'm
one
not.
Holocaust, and a Holocaust is a genocide, which this isn't.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
so
just
again, will you acknowledge that your
you're
your
just
hateful rhetoric?
equivocating. I really want to
Will
know,
you?
like, should I get you on
Okay,
this point? Like, can you please
you're
just look
you
up the word
virtual
equivocation? Like,
virtual. Let me tell
Jesus
you
fucking
something.
Christ.
There will never be a point you win versus me ever in the rest of your life. So let's
Well,
just start with that
sounds
right
like you're
now.
a kind of a dogmatic person and
I
not really
here
about truth. You're just more of an ideologue.
virtual. You haven't the projection is off the charts. You literally think there's an animal
Well,
holocaust,
look,
which is one
I'm
of the
listening
most
to your points, but I'm
mentally
responding to them
disturbed points
directly.
I've ever heard in my life. I'm going to ask you one more time. I've already proven that your words kill more animals. Do you enjoy being part of what you call the animal holocaust? You are doing it. You
I
are
think that your
actually hurting.
sources, yeah, sure. Let's just say I look over your sources and they appear to be factual. I would
Okay.
agree that your sources would say that comparing the Holocaust to what's
No,
happening.
using the word.
Yeah, sure. What's happening to animals? Oh wait, no,
Using the
well, that's not what
word.
you said. The studies said.
The studies say using the word Holocaust, which is basically,
Well,
dude,
I'd
read the
actually like to
studies.
look at the studies then. Yeah, I'd like to
Good,
review those
good.
studies, and then I'll just remain.
Okay, so assume that your language is okay. Let's just, even if they're wrong, let's just say it's not doing anything, but it is hurting. I think we can all agree. But if you want to say fine, it's just doing nothing. Not using that word actually will bring people in your cause. If you knew that changing your language would bring more people into vegans and you can get maybe to
Let's
4 or 5%,
yeah.
would you do that? Would you do that?
Let's just say I agree that it would like harm the vegan movement. Then yeah, maybe I might back off on that. But also, I'm also wondering like, are the vegans still right about their point?
Oh, objectively, no, but that's not what we're debating, and nor will I debate that. You can believe whatever
Okay,
you want
okay.
that the comparison's valid. I already explained why the comparison's not valid, but like I already went into it. I'm not going to go into it again. But like that's something that we'll never agree on. But we can agree that if it hurts your cause and it hurts Jewish people and African Americans, what's the point of doing it unless you're one of three things? An anti-Semite racist, clout chaser grifter, or someone who knows they're wrong but is doubling down because of your pride. So which of those three would be the reasons you would continue, or will you actually consider stopping? Because if you do, I'll give you a lot of respect and take back a lot of things I said.
Ask the question again. I just go ahead.
If you agree with me and look through all the studies that I researched and spent many hours doing, that this does that actually hurts your cause, or at best doesn't do anything, and does hurt African Americans and Jews, if you change your language to help your cause, because the only reason, if that's true, the only reason that you're using those words is for shock value, clout chasing, grifting, or because you actually are an anti-Semite or racist, which I don't think you are personally. And the third reason being that you just can't admit you're wrong because of your pride. And I also think that you actually are better than some of the other ones that you would admit it if you were wrong. So will you consider admitting that you're wrong and change your ways on the rhetoric? You don't have to change a single thing about what you believe animals are dying. You don't have to change a single thing about your veganism. I don't want you to.
I'm open
I
to
mean, I
it,
would
but I'm not sure. Yeah, sure. Let's just say I'm open to it, but
Okay,
yeah,
so we
yeah.
were arguing and now we're coming to some point. That's all I care about. Look, at the end of the day, yes, I disagree the comparison's valid, but we're never probably going to agree on that, right? Even though
Well,
you know,
I'm not trying to compare the two.
I know you're not, but
We could
when you use
compare the
that
two,
word,
but
it's
I mean,
specifically for comparison.
no. That you're so there. You're
Then
misunderstanding
you
me.
don't then you don't understand what Holocaust denialism downplaying is. You don't understand. Do you think denying the Holocaust is only saying it didn't happen at all? Because I think a lot of people like you don't actually understand what Holocaust denialism is.
No, I think it might be like sort of downplaying it. You're like, oh, I'm not really sure about the number of people. I heard it was less. Like I hear that all the time. I think that might be an example of what you're talking about.
Yes, like if you say 2 million died, or if you say the
I
gas
think
chambers
yeah, I
didn't.
agree with that.
But another form of downplaying is to do what you're doing, which is exploiting it,
So I'm not
which is
again like it's an equivocation. I've already given my semantics on the word.
that's not what.
Any
Okay,
sort
but
of like further like talking points about the Jewish Holocaust, that would be just an equivocation on the other party's
nobody's buying that excuse
on
though.
their part. Yeah.
There's nobody is buying the fact that you chose the
Well,
one word that
I'm
only
putting
is
it out
symbolic
there
of
and
the
I'm
Jewish
just saying like,
Holocaust.
look, this is what I mean by the word. And like
But
if you
that's
want to
equivalent to
keep
me.
making equivocation, that's on you.
That's again, it's the same thing as if I wore blackface but said that's not me appropriating African Americans. It's just me being darker and having a tan. Like, yes, you can make an excuse that say you're not looking at the Jewish Holocaust, but nobody's buying what you're selling, and nobody will do that. When they see those words, they know exactly what you mean. You have a choice to not use that word. You intentionally use that word knowing it will harm people and knowing it doesn't hurt your cause. Maybe you thought it helped your cause, but I don't know. Is there any single human being in human history that heard that word and said, you know what, I'm going to be a vegan?
Yeah, well, look, I just want to really just bring this point here. This has nothing to do with the Jewish Holocaust.
Again, that will never work. That will never work. You can't use that word and
I'm
say it
putting
has
it
nothing
out
to.
there, and I'm just telling you that's what
Uh,
we're saying. Nothing to do with the Jewish Holocaust right now. We're talking about the animal Holocaust right now. That's
there
what
is no
I'm
animal
talking about.
Holocaust. That's my point. You can't.
Okay, well,
A
you're
Holocaust is a
making an
genocide.
equivocation there again.
No, no, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. I just gave you my semantics. Like,
Okay,
do
well,
you support the animal Holocaust? Yes or no?
there's no such thing. I can't support something that is made up in your head. How could I
Do you?
support that? I do.
All right, this is going nowhere.
I
I'm gonna duck
no,
out.
but wait.
No, I'm gonna duck out.
How you're
You
asking?
should speak
Do you
to
support the? Do you
Aravind.
support?
He's pretty good to talk to. I'm ducking
He's a
out.
Holocaust denier. But what I'm asking you is, do you actually believe that you're helping the cause by using such hateful rhetoric? Now that you know it's hateful, or are you still going to push back and say it's not hateful? That it harms no one. It only helps. Do you honestly believe it helps? I mean, that's my main question.
Um, am I coming through?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, we had a little back and forth, probably like a few days ago, or maybe
Wait, hold
yesterday.
on. It's Oh no, I didn't. You weren't next. Sorry. Was it JT? We're gonna go to JT first. But why does this? This equivocation thing? I don't understand what he's talking about. Does anyone know what he was trying to talk about? I don't think he knows what it means. What does equivocation mean? I mean, isn't it the use of like ambiguous language to conceal the truth or avoid commitment? Why does
Well,
he? Why does he?
I can explain it real quick.
But
You
that
should
is
have
what
just
it is,
asked me.
right?
You should have just asked me when we were
No,
talking.
I know what it is, but I think you don't know what it is because you weren't using it properly.
Yeah, I'll tell you what an equivocation is right now, and I'll give you I'll do it
I just told you
definition
what
by
it is.
example.
I just told you what it is. Right? It's the use of
Uh, I,
ambiguous language to
I'm
conceal the
using the
truth or
word
avoid.
equivocation. I'm going to tell you what I mean by the word equivocation.
No, but I just told you what it is, right? So you don't know what it means. You use the word
Yeah,
and you.
I'm going to give you a definition by example. Like someone says, like, "Oh,
I
you're
just
such a."
told you what it is. It's
You're
use
just
of
talking crazy. All right,
ambiguous language.
I'm going back
It.
on mute. Bye
So I
bye.
read that. Okay, so you don't want to go with what the definition is. All right. So again, guys, this is a truth only space. And equivocation is the use of ambiguous language to conceal the truth or avoid committing oneself, which is kind of what you were doing when you wouldn't answer those questions. So you were committing something that you didn't even understand. Do you think the definition is different than what I just looked up in the dictionary? Or is the dictionary wrong? Are they lying? Are they controlled by the animal holocaust in your head? I mean, I got to say, though, your answer was the most creative. Nobody, like, I've seen some of the most dark, soulless, hateful individuals literally tell me that my Judaism is evil. Not a single one of them said, we had no idea that it had anything to do with the Jewish Holocaust. It's just a word we found that it's a noun. It means something else. We're not talking about the Jewish Holocaust. Like, I give you credit for being so ambitious that you think that people could buy that nonsense. But I got to say, that's one of the biggest bullshit excuses I've ever heard in my life. And for you to come on this
Thanks so
stage
much.
and lie to us, lie. That's a lie. You know it's a lie.
So
You know
that's
what
me
you even
personally. That's me personally. I
no,
can't speak on
oh
behalf
yeah.
of all
So
vegans,
you're trying to
and no other
shield
vegan will
your
speak
immorality. You're trying to
on
shield
behalf
your
of all vegans.
immorality from the world. Okay, so you're
Another
trying to
vegan might say that they are. I mean, or you know,
Well,
So
vegan David
I just want
Koresh,
to make it
the
clear on the record.
vegan
I'm not
David. Okay, but
speaking on behalf of all
yes, I
vegans.
know your excuse. It's
Okay.
very creative, and I will give you points for creativity, but nobody's buying that. But I will say this: vegan David Koresh said that specifically the animal Holocaust is worse than the Jewish Holocaust and worse than slavery. Do you agree with those words?
Yeah, I actually do agree with that.
Okay, so there it is. You heard it here
No,
first.
well, in
Bra-
terms of total
How?
suffering, in terms of total rights violations, the
Oh
fact
boy.
that it's still ongoing and doesn't seem to have an end in sight, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
worse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Okay. All right. So
Do
you
you
think
wait? Do you
you think
disagree with
yeah.
that?
Uh, I don't
I'm
think
not
there will
trying
be
to
anything in my
downplay
life.
the Jewish
There will
Holocaust
be
here, okay?
nothing in my life for the rest of my life that I will disagree with more strongly than that statement, and I will die
Oh,
believing
there was
that
actually a
you're
question I
100%
asked
wrong.
you in the Twitter space earlier this week, and it was basically like, what if we did to the yeah, instead of what we did back in the day to the Jewish people, okay? Or sorry, what they did back in the day to the Jewish people, okay? Let's just say that they
What?
put them and they did what to animals what they um did to instead of
There's no equivalence. You can't compare the two. So
imagine they just like
that's it.
bred them and
Yeah,
then
not gonna. You can't compare the
yeah,
two.
like raised them,
Are,
like took their
did you not
children,
listen to
slit their
my? So
throat,
you
made
didn't
them
listen
into
to my intro.
hamburgers, and then like
So you didn't listen to my intro.
continued into
What
like
ifs? What aboutism?
a
What
big circle,
aboutism?
like yeah. So like, would you say that that would be worse than what actually happened? That's a yes or
The
no.
fact that you think someone's yeah, that's I promise you that question will never be answered, and I think that that is
Okay.
one of the worst bad faith questions I've ever seen. Do you understand the difference
Do
between
you
human
understand
beings and
what a
animals?
hypothetical is?
Yeah, yeah, we don't do hypotheticals. Let me ask you a
You don't
question.
do
Do you think
hypotheticals.
yeah, hypothetically, okay, fine. So you do
Okay,
okay, you keep
okay.
laughing about the Holocaust. Do you
Like
think
I
that
would
you don't
just say like you're
I
philosophically
no but
illiterate or something. I don't know.
okay, so here we go. The more insults. Look, again, you're going to grow up and you're going to realize how wrong you are at a certain point. Like, I was like this really hardcore leftist when I was in college, and I grew up, and now I'm still a Democrat. I'm still a progressive. I still care about people, but I actually learn about the ways of the world, and it doesn't seem like you're at that point yet. You even admitted that you had literally no education on the Holocaust, and if you look at the education of the Holocaust around the world, 40% of young people don't even know that 6 million Jews were died in the Holocaust. Like, so do you understand that in order to compare the Holocaust to animal suffering, you'd have to make the Holocaust be like 10,000 people died? That's complete Holocaust revisionism in order to make the comparison work. You actually have to downplay the Holocaust if you're going to compare the two, unless you think every single animal is equal to a human being. And if that's true, then we have nothing more to discuss. Do you understand the difference between the motivation behind the Holocaust and the motivation behind animal agriculture? That there's a different motivation. Do we target animals because of their ethnicity, because of their race, because of their religion? Nobody is denying that there's suffering involved in animal agriculture, but it's not animated by a genocidal ideology or the intent to exterminate a specific group. That's what a genocide like a Holocaust is. So when you claim, meaning the Holocaust, the one and only Holocaust, equating the two diminishes the singular historical horror of the Holocaust. You're recasting it as like a metaphor for other evils. That's exactly what Holocaust scholars and Jewish survivors warn against.
You
But you
just
don't care because you haven't learned that.
you're the one
You
who
you
just
in a
asked me like
class.
which one was worse. So you seem to be the one comparing the two.
They're uncomparable. Look,
But
look.
do you
It's
admit that you just compared the two?
no. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You
Yeah, you
can't
said
compare
that
the two. There's
the
no
Jewish
comparison.
Holocaust was worse. So you compared the two.
You compared the two. What
What?
I'm saying is they're uncomparable. You asked me if they're comparable, and I said no. Like, for example, what happened in Gaza, right? Horrific, right? Horrific death.
Right, yeah,
Do
sure.
you agree? Do you agree that how many people died in Gaza is not? Do you believe that it's the Holocaust was worse than what happened in Gaza, or like, can we at least establish that?
Oh yeah,
Right.
way worse.
That's exactly how. Right. So now you understand that that when you compare two things and one is obviously worse than the other, like the Holocaust is
Yeah,
obviously
but
worse than
look,
animal agriculture.
do you understand how many animals die every day? Like,
It's not, but see, it's not. Yes. Do you understand how many animals die every day from other animals or from vegans?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
All
what's the
right.
relevance?
Because a genocide is targeting an ethnic group. I asked you a question. Are we targeting animals because of their ethnicity or their
Yeah,
religion.
Mm,
So no, right. So it can't be a genocide, can't be a Holocaust. That's my point. Holocaust is a
well,
genocide.
whoa. Yeah, I just
It
don't
was
take.
a genocide. Are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
actually 20 years old? Are you actually only 20 years old? You're not even
No,
22?
no. I'm much older than that.
Are you
It's
in your
irrelevant.
20s?
It's irrelevant. So, like,
You don't think it's relevant? Okay.
no, I don't think it's relevant. Like, arguments stand on their own 2 feet, not on the
What's
shoulders of
funny is I
thousands
thought
more.
you,
So,
for some
if you
reason, I
want to
thought you
make
were
personal
a
attacks, like,
female.
that's fine. But just
It's not a personal attack. I just find it interesting that most of the people that are in this extreme sect / cult and that believe in the fake animal Holocaust, these people are all young white males and privileged, sitting at home on their laptops,
okay.
ordering Postmates
This
and
is like
watching
a
Netflix while they're
side
streaming all
tangent.
day. No,
Do you want to
but
talk about
isn't
the
it
topic we're
interesting?
just talking
Where are
about?
the
Why are you
females?
going off on a
I haven't
tangent?
not a single woman has ever come into my mentions on this. Why does every single vegan I know not believe in any of your advocacy? Not a single vegan I've ever met in my 50 years of life, and I've met thousands of vegans, more vegans than you've met, because like half of my family is vegan,
I don't know, because
and
you're in a like a
none of
small
them would
Twitter
ever use that
space. Like,
word.
I have.
So you're saying, so you agree that you're part of an extreme sect of veganism, right? You don't
I mean,
represent
they're
most of vegans.
vegans are what, 1% of the population, and then we have an even smaller part of that 1% that are actually like philosophically literate vegans. So like, yeah,
Right. Obviously, you're not in that part. But what I'm saying is, you understand you're in that extremist sect that says things to rage bait. Yes or no?
I'm trying to. You're asking me like, wait, this is another like loaded question.
Okay. So you know Nick. Like, you understand he
Look,
grifts off this, right?
Jesus Christ, like I think
How
that
much money do you think he makes off of rage
this
bait?
is so irrelevant. This is another like side tangent ramble. Like,
Because that's all I care about. I don't care about like there's no debate on vegans. You can't debate me on veganism. There's what's the
I
debate going to be?
can
I
debate
agree with.
you on veganism if you
No, you
wanted
can't.
to. I would
You
love to debate
absolutely
you on
couldn't. Because
veganism. I would love to go
what
one versus
what would we
one, me
debate
versus
on?
you on veganism. What would we
But there
debate
is no
on? We
debate.
would debate on your actions. Do you
No,
support
no,
do you
no.
support the
I
animal
support.
holocaust? Let's just
Okay,
say we
okay.
put
So
humans in
do
the
you under?
slaughterhouse.
You're
Would you
misrepresenting me. You're
sign
misrepresenting.
off on that? Yes or
What
no?
I'm saying, we can't debate veganism because I support veganism. I support
That
vegans and I
does
respect them.
You're not
Like
vegan.
right, and you should respect me, and I should respect you. If you don't, then you don't have
I
what's
don't have
called
to respect
a
you the
soul.
same way I don't have to respect somebody who goes and kicks a dog in the face.
Okay, so I don't have
Yeah,
to
you're doing
respect
shit
you the
worse
same
than
way
kicking
someone wears
dogs in the
blackface
face. When you go out
or
and you
hurting more
pay for
animals than I
animals to
am.
get stabbed in the
But
throat, get
but I already
fucking
proved that you're
raped
hurting.
on the rape
Okay,
rack, like come on,
here
dude.
it comes. Here it comes. So but I already proved that you hurt more animals than
I'm
me,
just
and I
saying that
and
you're
I.
worse than somebody who kicks dogs in the face.
Mm-hmm,
You're doing
mm-hmm.
shit that's worse than that.
Okay. And you think this helps your movement to tell this to people?
Am I right or am I wrong?
Objectively wrong on everything with no exceptions, but that's not the point. It's not
Why am
about you
I
being right
wrong?
or wrong. You're not.
Why am I wrong? So
What do
so
you,
sorry,
why are you wrong?
stabbing an animal in the throat? Is that
Again,
worse
again.
than kicking the dog in the
But
face?
you did
Or
that. But you're doing that.
what do you mean I'm doing that? You're the one
How
paying for this shit to
you're
happen.
you're you're no, you're
I'm
literally
objectively,
calling.
literally not supporting it as an ethical
How do you
stance
say
against it.
tell me how,
And
so
you're the
how do you
one
save
who's
a single
fucking like,
life?
yeah, here's my
Tell me how you
money.
save a
Here's my
single.
money. Have some
Okay,
more
see
of
that's
this.
why.
I support this
Are you
practice.
giving a sermon or are you going to answer a question? Can you name one animal life that you've ever saved in your entire life? Name it. Have you saved a single animal that would have not died because you made a
Yeah,
decision to eat a different diet?
I've saved many
How?
animals. Like
How? How? How is that? Do you know how to math?
w-
So you're saying that less
do I
animals
need
have
to
been
give you
produced
all of
because of
the
you.
examples? Like I've also turned many people vegan. That has a major impact.
Well,
Like
there's an actual substantive answer now, but you yourself haven't changed anything about
yeah, sure
animals
I have. I've
because
literally
one
saved
person.
animals.
How?
I've literally
So you're
brought
saying that
animals to
product?
the hospital to fucking save their
No,
lives.
what I'm talking.
Like what the fuck are you talking about?
So have I, but I'm not. But but by eating your diet, it hasn't affected production of animals, right? Nothing's
Yeah,
changed,
sure it
right?
has. What's the argument that it hasn't?
How? So you're
Yeah,
telling me that less animals have been produced
yeah.
because of your singular decision not to eat animals?
There might be Yeah, yeah. I think that there might be some impact of like fewer animals being bred into existence
No,
and
dude.
being killed.
Dude.
Um,
Okay, you just okay. That's
no,
one
no,
of the
hold on,
dumbest
hold on,
things
hold
I've ever
on.
heard in my life. But yeah,
Look, look. Surely you don't think that like the collective of vegans, right? If we all just started going back to eating meat, do you think that that would have like an impact on the amount of animals being killed for food? Do you
very
think that
minimal. But
vegans
we're
do
not
make a
talking.
difference as a collective?
I think that animal rights activists make a difference
Do,
overall more than vegans. Yeah.
no, no, I'm talking
If
about
if if
vegans, like
if
and their boycott, right? They're
no,
boycotting
but
the industries. So do
right.
you
But what
think
you're
that
but I'm asking
if
about
they
you
all just
personally.
started giving them money again, right? Buying the
So
products off the shelf,
you're
and do
changing
you
the
think that
question. You're
no, I'm asking you a question. I'm not changing your
but
answers. I'm asking you a question.
you
Do
said
you
on the
think
stage a few seconds ago that you think less animals are being produced because of your individual actions.
they're well? I mean,
Technically, no, obviously.
imagine
Come
I
on, let's be
bought
honest.
imagine I bought a broiler chicken every single day of my life, and I ate
It
a whole
wouldn't change
chicken
how
every
many were
day.
produced. Wouldn't change how
Yeah,
many were
it
produced.
might, yeah, based on threshold demand.
Oh my god. All right. Well, if you believe that, there's
I
nothing
have
I
a
can do.
yeah,
But
there is evidence to show this. Actually, I think yeah,
do
the
you have any
argument
of it?
has been made. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Okay, great. So, but what about this? What about actual animal rights groups? Do you think they do good in the world?
I I'm sort of agnostic
It's
actually.
not a gotcha. It's not a
I think
gotcha.
that animal like rights groups and like in general, like I don't think that the vegan movement is necessarily super successful. No. I think
Yeah,
that
but don't you
I
don't
don't think like the world's gonna go vegan. I don't think that we're gonna accomplish this whole vegan world that we want with vegan activism and stuff like that. I think we're more gonna accomplish it with like lab grown meat and shit.
so you support lab grown meat.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. But again, the point of me not debating you on veganism is I support veganism fully. I love my vegan friends. I think it's a great
That's
lifestyle that they've chosen.
that's so irrelevant. Like I
Well,
don't
it
care about
is.
that. Like
Do you understand that I normally have debates against anti-vaxxers and I completely disagree with their beliefs? But how could I debate
it's like
someone whose
somebody
beliefs I agree
because you're
with?
the aggressor. You're the
I'm not
aggressor.
an
It's
aggressor.
like a rapist
I
saying like, "Oh, I totally support
oh,
like
I'm a rapist?
my non-rapist friends like that. I support them, so it's okay. Like I don't have to defend
Okay. So
my
who's the rapist in this situation?
well, nobody's the rapist. I'm just saying it's like I just made an analogy.
Right. In the analogy,
I'm
who
saying
would
that
be the
you're the
rapist?
aggressor.
Me or
So,
you?
sorry,
So I'm
what?
a rapist. I'm a rapist now?
Well, you're probably actually
Am I right?
worse than a rapist.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And you think this
Well,
helps your
it's just
movement?
that the shit you pay for, like your
Mm-hmm.
actions end up doing things that are probably worse. Yeah.
Do you think if I don't buy something at Chick-fil-A for a month, it's going to change anything?
Probably not.
Okay. And you think I'm worse than a rapist?
Well, your collective actions throughout your life, yeah. If you
Mhm.
choose to support the animal farming industry, yeah.
Holocaust. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, it is interesting to hear this belief. Are you like David Koresh, who you isolate and ostracize your family and friends because of their beliefs, or are you actually going to have a
Only
life
the
with
ones.
family and friends?
So I usually have conversations with my family, and if they're like open to to have a discussion, like an honest discussion about it, then I will have respect for them. I will support them, whatever, whatever. But if they're just like ignorant pieces of shit, like oh, you're eating all the animals' food, like basically just dumb fucking takes, and they're not willing to like honestly engage with like the consequences of their own actions, then I will absolutely not show respect to them, and I don't feel like I need to. Yeah.
All right.
So
But, do you think that, rape comparisons are insensitive to women who've gone through
well,
sexual assaults? I mean,
sure,
you've already
they have.
offended the Jewish community, African American community. Now you're
Sure, whatever.
offending trauma.
But look, like
Do you,
just call it what it is. It's fucking rape. Like when, well, let's just say animals
mhm,
get fucking, they get
mhm.
raped.
But you're calling
It's
me you're calling me worse than a rapist.
well, yeah, I think you that well, yeah, I think that.
Okay.
I think that non-vegans
So you think
who
me
are
as a father
complacent,
raising my 9 and 11-year-old daughters, they were being raised by someone who's worse than a rapist, even though I'm teaching them
well, the thing
the
is that
beauty of
you're
our
paying
religion,
for
the
things.
beauty of our culture, the morality that Judaism teaches me, which again, your people believe is an evil religion.
What do you mean,
You
my
think
people? What the fuck? Well,
the
why are you
extremist
bringing
vegans
this
have told
fucking
me.
shit? Like, I'm not fucking any of that shit. Like, don't label me
Do
as
you
this.
believe kashrut is evil? Do you believe being kosher is evil, like some
I
of your
don't even
friends?
know anything about that. So, like, why are you even bringing this
Mhm.
up?
For certain rituals in the Judaism, we have to eat something, we have to eat milk or we have to eat meat.
You
And
have to
you
eat
consider
meat as part of your.
it's it's part of
That seems,
Jewish
yeah, that
culture and
seems pretty
traditions.
bad.
Yeah.
Like, that seems really bad.
Mm.
Like, what?
Whether it's
You have
gefilte
to
fish or
fucking, like, make
blintzes, an
animals
egg is part
suffer?
of the Passover meal.
Imagine it was like a
Yes.
religion that, like, had to make humans suffer, like, as part of the religion. Like,
Hmm.
that
Okay.
seems bad. Yeah.
Well, pretty much all major religions incorporate foods that you probably would object to. So you're saying you're against all organized religion then, and you think it's all evil.
Parts of it. I don't think it's all evil. No. I think that those parts of it are evil or bad.
I'm just trying to get to a place. Look, I know we had a contentiousness at the beginning where there can be something resolved, because I don't care what you do with your life. I wish you the best, but I just don't want you to harm the vegan movement and harm other people by using hateful rhetoric. That's my only objection. I don't care otherwise what you do with your life.
Well, I care about what other people do with their lives. If they're like,
Hmm.
kicking dogs in the face, like I care about stuff like that. If they're, supporting an industry that I find morally abhorrent, then I care about stuff like that, and I'm going to speak out against it. And it's never going to be okay to harm animals and put them in cages and do all the stuff that we do to animals. Um, when you could
Hmm.
just not do that, you could just go out and buy tofu. Yeah, there's plenty of evidence, despite
So
what
if you buy
Mr.
tofu,
Whitfield
then
said
animals won't be in
about,
cages.
plant-based diets. Yeah, there's plenty of evidence to support the health effects of a plant-based diet. I don't know what the guy's talking about. I've been vegan myself 12 years. I know it's an anecdote, but there's
Well,
plenty
let
of
me ask,
evidence, like outcome data supporting plant-based diets. And
would
yeah,
you support working to improve conditions for animals in agriculture?
yeah, of course.
Okay. And would you support
Like, yeah,
non-vegans helping you do that?
I think that
Would
a
you support
welfare
non-vegans helping you do that?
Yes, of course. I'm
Okay.
not. I want to be clear. I'm not. I don't think that non-vegans should just fucking be deleted. I don't. I've never heard any vegans really say that. Maybe like some crazy fucking
Mm,
vegans.
you mean
Even
like David
even
Koresh?
Nick doesn't say that. I think you strawmanned him on that, by the way. And I think your evidence
Um,
for the claim is very weak.
he used his own words, but okay, if you want to call that a straw man. The point is, so you want to
I'd like to see
allyship.
the evidence for
Okay,
that claim.
you
Yeah.
want to allyship with people like us, but you also want to push us away by using dehumanizing, hateful rhetoric that harms your own movement and hurts the Jewish and African American communities. How can you do both? Why don't you try to use better rhetoric so then we will be aligned with you and we can work together to make the world better for animals? Isn't that
I'm
what we
just
all
not.
want?
I'm not convinced that my rhetoric is actually hurting any of
Okay.
the things you mentioned. So.
Okay. So how many Jewish survivors have you spoken to, and whether or not they think this word is okay to use in the context you're using it?
0.
Okay. How many African Americans who are descendants of slaves have you talked to if it's okay to use that word, and to sort of make that comparison?
Who were descendants of them? I don't know, probably a
Well,
bunch.
I mean, I would say most
Yeah,
African Americans are descendants of slavery, and
yeah, probably a bunch.
have you talked to them and asked them if it's okay to use such a comparison?
I've just straight up used it. Yeah.
That wasn't my question, but okay. So you use it
Well,
without
I
asking
didn't.
if it's
No.
if
Well, I'm saying yeah. No. Well, the answer is
I mean,
no.
I'm assuming you're white. I mean, no offense. I'm white
No, it's
too.
fine.
I'm Jewish,
It's
but
fine.
the point is, if I was using a word that hurt African Americans and they told me it hurt them, I would never use it again. I don't care if it helped my cause. The irony is it hurts your cause, but that's not even the point. The point is I listen to people when they tell me they're being hurt by my words, and I'm urging people who are listening to this, maybe not yourself, but people on the fence, to listen to people who are being hurt and acknowledge the pain that comes with that comparison, because it's not your pain. You get to grow up in a privileged world. You never had a history of slavery. You never had a history of your ancestors being massacred in gas chambers. listen to the people that you're maybe hurting. That's all I'm asking. I'm begging you to do that, to contemplate it and do better. I'm not asking you to change a single thing about your views on animal suffering at all. And I do believe that if you do that, you will bring more people into veganism, and you will bring more non-vegans into ally with you to improve the world for animals. I sincerely believe that, and I apologize that we were a little contentious earlier. But this gets a little emotional for me because for 32 years, I've
No,
been passionately studying the Holocaust
I
and
think it's
fighting against
yeah, it's been
appropriation.
very clear that it's a very sensitive topic for you, and I know I understand that. I know, like, again, we had some contention. I'm a very reasonable person to talk to, so I'm an honest person. I consider myself a very honest person, so I do have to duck out, but yeah, I mean,
All right. Well, I do applaud you for coming up here. You probably knew it was gonna, not be as friendly as, the
yeah,
venue on X.
I'll always speak up for animals, and I'll always defend animals, because yeah.
But see, that's where we agree. See, that's my problem. Like, I think it's a very important cause. I just wish there was a better way that you could sell your cause to other people. And
Well, I don't
if you
just use
did,
that one way
of
only
course,
always, so
of course.
I take
No, I
different
know.
approaches for different people.
Well, I mean,
So
if you go up to someone and say, you are worse than a rapist, they're probably not going to ally with you and give you a $10,000 donation to a cause. I'm capable of giving that money if you say something a little nicer. I mean, I
well,
doubt I'm going to
hold
help
on.
you out if you call me
Like,
worse than a
if you're
rapist.
actually a good person, you would just give the money regardless of what I say. It's like if I had this one person say like, "Oh, vegans were mean" or whatever, I stopped being vegan. It's like, dude, like, why don't you just be the vegan you want to see in the world? Isn't that
Okay,
like a
that's a good
fucking
point.
Gandhi quote? Like, just be the vegan you want to see in the world.
I'll give you that point, but what I will say, if you're selling on a certain charity, but you also say that I'm worse than a rapist, I'll probably pick a different animal rights charity. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
And look,
in
all the
terms of the amount of suffering you're causing, that's just to be clear. The amount of
uh,
suffering and the amount of rights violations you're causing, I think
well,
that,
in your mind,
the actions are worse.
well, we'll disagree on that, but that's fine, respectively.
All right. I got to
The point
bounce.
is,
I got to
your
bounce.
cause overall may be just and moral, but the way you're going about it, I don't think it helps your cause. That's it, and I hope
All right.
that I made that clear.
I'm going to listen
Godspeed to
in,
you.
but I'm going to mute. All right.
By the way, it's so strange, but for some reason I thought you were a female the entire time I'm talking on X. And
Okay.
I was like, at least there's someone that's not a young white privileged male that's in the sect. And I guess there you go. The stereotype holds, but it's not your fault. You were born that way. Okay. Thank you so much. We do appreciate the conversation.
Well,
Dr. Whitfield,
I'm not a
go. Hey,
I'm
hold on
not
a
a
second.
straight white male anyway.
Hold on a
So
second,
I guess
dude.
I can
Chill
talk
out for a
now.
second. Chill out for a second. Dr. Whitfield's going to respond and then we'll go to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just jump in for a second. First of all, Buddy said that. So I'm glad that
No, I
I'm
guess he doesn't
sort
want
of.
to talk.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey, AR, you got to stay on mute while he talks, dude.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry, he was
Yeah, I
talking over you.
apologize. I'm a little bit hoarse. Um, but I want to say I'm glad, but it's kind of coincidental that what's going on currently with the whole Tylenol debacle, because I sent you a clip about the 1970s McGovern report, in which they were actually using cherry pick data to push a political agenda, right? And likewise with Tylenol issue, they're cherry picking data to push a political agenda. So now a lot of people, even like left leaning people in the public, believe that there must be something to the Tylenol link with autism. And I'm saying all this to say that a lot of people believe that there is strong evidence to extol the benefit of a vegan diet. And when you really peel it apart, when you really look under the hood, the evidence is very weak. And it's all association evidence. And these same association evidence, you can look and you see that the countries that live the longest consume more meat. There's a positive correlation between meat consumption and longevity. Some of the top um, countries that live the longest, like Hong Kong and Macau and Australia, they consume more meat than these other countries. Countries like India that don't consume a lot of meat. If you really want to fixate on observational studies, you'll find um, vegan and vegetarian diet, they have higher rates of osteoporosis, weakening of the bones. You find all kind of stuff with these observational studies. So the data isn't there as they say. And what you're really doing, you're depriving yourself of actual nutrients that human beings need to thrive because somehow you believe that these observational studies are telling you you're going to live longer. You're not going to live longer. That's the first thing. And the second thing I find is that, first of all, morality itself, that's a human invention. Morality is not a law of nature, right? Nature is amoral. Nature has nothing to do with immorality. There's just certain laws in nature. And living things feed on living things, right? Is it immoral for a bacteria to consume my lungs so that it can multiply? Is it immoral for me to kill mosquitoes or cockroaches or worms? Is that immoral? So where do we draw the distinction? And with a lot of these vegans, anything that reminds them of human beings, they want to give it human rights. And they're forgetting the cockroaches, the rodents, all these other living things that are less like human beings. And they are elevating those animals that are more like human beings. So it's hypocrisy and it's not based on any kind of common sense. The next point I want to make is when you go to a hospital and you have a pneumonia, are you going to take an antibiotics? Of course. If you have some kind of disease that requires medication, are you going to take medications? Of course, but every single drug is tested on human and is tested on other animals. So we have this large industry in which we constantly develop new drugs, and the only how we know if the drug is safe is if we test it on animals. So every day, animals are being killed because of toxicity from drugs. Animals are being killed because we do a lot of surgeries to see if a surgery will be successful on human beings. So we use animals for so many things other than just consumption because these animals actually offer nutrients. These grass that you see grow, only a ruminant animal can actually transform the cellulose from this grass into actual adequate protein
Is he
Is he
breaking up?
breaking up? Oh yeah, big time.
Dr. Whitfield, you're breaking up a little. You're robot voicing. Doctor?
All right, let me go inside. Let me go inside and I can
I
Wi-Fi
thought it
probably.
was I thought it might be me because I'm driving, but
No,
I
it's
get
definitely him.
okay. Thank you, Dr. John, our vegan co-host. Thank you for being part of the vegan community, which we love and cherish. The normal vegan community, not extremism. When people get upset, like I said, like I have hundreds. I mean, so many vegan. I'm getting an echo here. Getting an echo here. So many vegan family members and
It's Dr. Whitfield, Streeter.
okay, and friends. And in my 50 years of life, I never once heard any of them tell me that I'm evil for being Jewish or evil for being a devout Jew who I'm not a devout Jew, but they're claiming that kashrut is evil or claiming that I'm worse than a rapist or claiming that Jews are evil or claiming that we should genocide all non-vegans or claiming we should wipe out society and move to a different planet. Some of these things are just so dark and or claiming that, animals are like, the one and only Holocaust or claiming that, Holocaust appropriation, exploitation, which is something I fought against for 30 years when the abortion people do it. Like, and nothing again, I don't want to bring in abortion, but the pro-life movement, they also use that word to say that, people who are supportive of pro-choice and abortion are committing a baby Holocaust. And what's interesting is a lot of people who are in this extremist cult sect of vegans who want to, attack and claim that their cause is worse than slavery and the Holocaust combined. They are pro-choice when it comes to abortion. It seems a little hypocritical, but I don't know. But I know that's like a trope, and. But the point of the matter is, why can't we just all not use rhetoric that harms people? If you didn't know, you can plead ignorance and say, "Okay, I'm sorry." But if you know it, and especially when it's been proven that it hurts your cause, I brought 14 peer-reviewed studies and papers that show it doesn't help your cause. If anything, it hurts it. So now you know it's hurting your cause, it's hurting Jews, it's hurting African Americans. If you still choose to use it again, the only explanation can be anti-Semitism, clout chasing, grifting, or the fact that you know you're right, but you can't. Your pride won't let you admit that it's wrong. Even if you believe it's a Holocaust, which again is a completely separate argument. If you believe it's a Holocaust, just don't use the word, because the Jewish people, not all Jews, but major Jewish voices are telling you not to use it. And look, just be respectful of other people. Be respectful of non-vegans. Don't tell me that I am worse than a rapist. You know what I mean? I want to live in a world where everyone respects each other. I want to live in a world where I can donate money to animal charities and help farms work to get better agriculture that's safer and better for animals. And I don't have to tell a single person about it, because I do this on my own. I'm not here to clout chase. I'm not here to show off. I just don't want to be attacked and have my, my religion demonized because your views are so extreme. And that's it. Just want to live in a good world where everyone cares about each other, even if we have different beliefs on things like food and animals and abortion and politics. Because there's people that differ on lots of things. Like one of my co-hosts is anti-Zionist, and and I'm a Zionist. So but we still live and respect each other. And even though that is a very contentious debate, as you know, why can't we respect each other if you're vegan and I'm not? Like, someone has to tell me that. Someone has to show me evidence why I'm not supposed to be respected. All right, let's move on. I got to close up at 8:30, so we have 30 minutes
Can I
left.
just finish my last point?
Yeah, you finished last point. And then Arav has been waiting a
Yeah.
while. I'm just going to ask everyone, so we can get to everyone, to try to keep
Oh,
it brief.
I'm just gonna yield my spot to Dr. Avi, who's also on the speaker panel. So that's
Yeah.
fine.
So I find it very hypocritical, right? I see another vegan just popped in, Avi, right? So all these drugs that we give patients, right? All these drugs that we consume, you have to test them on animals, right? And the reason why you want to test it on animals is to see if it's safe in human beings. So by that definition alone, you know that we are literally giving animals drugs that can cause toxicity in animals. But you don't see that these vegans bat an eye when they take an antibiotics, because a lot of this veganism is based on privilege, right? And is based on having a sense of superiority, trying to feel a sense of superiority, and it's based on hypocrisy. I think that's my last point. And another point is we lit the beautiful thing about nature is that human beings cannot eat grass, as I said, but these ruminant animals, they actually upcycle the nutrients. They actually turn that grass into protein and fat and into bioavailable nutrients. And when you guys Google the most bioavailable nutrients, most of these nutrients, except for like vitamin C, magnesium, and folate, most of these nutrients are much more bioavailable in animal products. And I'll give everybody else time to talk.
All right, thank you for that. We'll go to JT, Trent, and then Avi.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know how people can't just see the difference between the Jewish Holocaust and like a quote unquote animal Holocaust. The Nazis had a Jewish question. That'd be like the equivalent would be the human race having a cow question, and the humans would gather around a table and say, how do we eliminate all cows from existence without doing anything for us, right? And there's no other benefit. There's no, anything, any productive uh use of the cow. Just get rid of them. I mean, I don't see how anybody can conflate the two. It's clear as day to me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm maybe I'm mistaken, but it's very clear to me.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there are two arguments here. As I said before, one, I do not wish to debate, nor will I, whether or not the comparison is valid. Like, can you compare what we're doing to animals to the Holocaust or slavery? I believe you can. I don't believe it's valid, and I laid out my arguments earlier. But that is something that at least you can debate, right? Like, and people have that debate all the time, probably online. But the other one is whether you should use that word, even if it is equivalent. And that's the one where I strongly think if there's another word you could use, why not use a word that doesn't harm the vegan movement? Because I've shown 14 studies that show it actually harms the vegan movement and doesn't harm Jewish and African American communities. If you have a word, and whatever that word is, like one person was like, there's no other word we can use to talk about the mass animal slaughter. And I'm like, you just said mass animal slaughter. He's like, oh shit. Like, that was a cell phone. And I'm like, of course there's other words. There's many other words you can use to describe it if you're specifically choosing one that you know. Like, no matter what, nobody can sit here and say not one Jewish person will be offended by it, or not one African American will be offended by comparison to slavery. If one African American was offended by a word I used, I would never use that word again the rest of my life. That's just how I was brought up by my family, and that's my morality. If you know, when I learned blackface was inappropriate, I'm never going to do blackface. That's basically what you're doing because you think it helps your cause. But at the end of the day, science and studies have shown that that rhetoric moves people who are on the fence, the moderates, the ones that you actually could reach to become vegan, away from your cause. So you're hurting the vegan cause while at the same time hurting African Americans and Jews. So my only issue is that I have no issues. I think veganism is amazing. I think all my vegan friends are some of the kindest, beautiful souls I've ever met in my entire life. In fact, one of them was at my wedding as a bridesmaid, and she's amazing. We have dinner all the time. She doesn't talk about being vegan. I wouldn't even know she was vegan if I didn't ask or didn't see what she's eating. But at the end of the day, she's never once commented on what I eat, never once commented on my lifestyle, never compared me to the Nazis and the Holocaust or to slave owners. And I just don't understand why that isn't the norm. If you're actually trying to improve the vegan world. And what she has done is taught me about animal rights. And she's the one that's led me to animal charities. And again, I've never talked about this, but she's the one that's helped drive me to donate money to important causes and to help with local farms to improve things for animals. So that actually worked with me. Yeah, she didn't turn me vegan, although I did stop dairy. That's a step. That's one step. But I'm not like trying to sit here and claim that I'm vegan, but she's actually converted me on the knowledge of animal rights and animal suffering. And that is something I acknowledge. And I think it's important in this world to acknowledge that. But at the end of the day, if she came at me hard and said that I'm contributing to the animal holocaust, I never would have heard her after that. And I never would have understood what is happening in the world with animals. And I never would have reached out and helped. And I do think that vegans, who are whatever you are, 3%, 4%, 2% of society, you need that 96, 97% of society as allyship to finance and fund and help you improve the world for animals, because you're obviously never going to convert the entire world to vegans. So that's just my only thing. I mean, it's so simple.
Truther, I would
Yeah.
just add, you can have vegans that are Nazis, but you also can have vegans that aren't Nazis, and you can have Nazis that aren't vegans. So, I think I think that's unfortunately, as you said, the loud population are on the extreme, and they're not winning people over with their rhetoric. But I think anybody, even intentionally or unintentionally ascribing Holocaust denialism or misappropriation. That's the problem. And as you said, it's going to put people off and it's just going to hurt their cause. Tons of good causes out there to get into, but that's not the way to change hearts and minds, to go full on shaming and whatnot. Like, you just have to see it and you have to experience. You have to talk to people that actually are vegan. And what's ironic is, who was the person that actually kind of my final turn on to it was someone who's your loudest critic right now, or one of them, right? That account that's being pretty horrible. I asked them how they did, how it was,
Friend
and
of Avi's too,
yeah, and
Jody.
that's who turned me around. And so for all their hatred and vile and bitterness, like when I was talking to them, they talked to me like a human being and not like the preaching that they're doing. So hypocrisy is unbound from that person.
All right, that's Dr. John, who is our vegan co-host, and let's keep it going. Trent and Avi.
Hey, um, so I I'm very fascinated with the whole morale of, you know, being being vegan and not being vegan, and like I totally like I we all support not harming animals and that kind of stuff. Um, but I was curious if like hard vegans believe that animals aren't like don't feel anything when they get killed, or when they when
Did we lose him?
no, I was kind of
Oh.
done.
Oh, okay. Wait, I don't even. Well, I'm sorry, I missed your question. You're
Like when we
It seemed
kill
rhetorical, Trent.
plants.
It
oh,
seemed kind of rhetorical to me.
okay,
Okay.
sorry. All right, thanks, Trent. Okay, go ahead, Avi. Welcome to space.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Absolutely, loud and
Yes,
clear.
sir.
So there's two issues that I guess I'd like to talk to you about. I don't know if we have enough time to go over all, but if you only have 20 minutes left. But the two issues that it seems like there are here is what really three issues, just making sure everyone's on the same page about what the comparison is when the term is used, what they mean denotatively and connotatively. And then once everyone's on the same page there, the second thing would be, is the denotation accurate? And is it connotatively misleading? Because you could have denotations that are accurate, but the connotation may be misleading, and you can say in what way it is and what way it isn't. And then the third thing is, even if everyone's on the same page about what you mean on the term, and if the denotation is accurate, and even if the denotation is accurate and it's not connotatively misleading, is it somehow does it have a lack of efficacy counterfactually, or does it create otherwise a problem for the movement? Does it reduce the odds of people going vegan, etc.? So we can talk about all of them. I've read all the 14 quote unquote peer-reviewed studies you said you posted.
They weren't all peer-reviewed. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that. At one point you said 14 peer-reviewed studies.
No, or papers. I said or papers.
Peer-reviewed paper. Okay. Right.
Or articles.
Yeah. Okay, good. Because some of them were just from blogs. Some of them was a Vice article. Another one was just an entry on vegan.com. So I've read all of them. I'm not convinced that that shows that conclusion, any of them. And many of them don't even really address that term at all, but are just sort of like drawn upon by some sort of vaguely related aspect. So whatever you want to talk about, because I'd like to talk about all of them. It's hard to talk about. Yeah.
You mentioned three. I don't really want to debate whether it's an appropriate comparison. I've made my opinion noted. I don't think that's going to ever change.
Well, just to be clear, it's not the debate over whether it's an appropriate comparison. It's the three things.
I mean like comparable. Like if they're comparable.
Well, lots of things are comparable. I take comparable just to mean one can make a comparison. But that's going to be a very trivial. Lots of people compare to lots of things. We're not going to disagree on that. What it really, the interesting thing in terms of that is not necessarily, unless you mean by appropriate, whether it's denotatively accurate and not connotatively misleading. If you mean that,
right.
If that's what you mean by appropriate.
Yeah, like so I don't think that the comparison is valid, but I also don't. I understand other people disagree.
You say the comparison's not valid. Wait. When you say the comparison is not valid, do you mean something other than it's the term is denotatively accurate, or the term is connotatively misleading? Or do you mean something else, like there's some sort of moral thing there that makes it makes one of the lack of overlap?
I wish
sorry, what?
At the beginning, I kind of explained all this in like a 45-minute rant. But
sure, I'm sorry. I work late because
I know.
my slides are.
So I don't want to repeat. I don't want to repeat myself. Maybe you can go listen back to it. But here's the thing: like if you look at Gaza and you compare that to the Holocaust, obviously you would agree that yes, you can compare the two, but the Holocaust was significantly worse, right?
So the what I would say with the Gaza case is that it is either denotatively inaccurate or it's denotatively accurate and connotatively misleading. It's going to fall into one of those two categories.
So that's how I view the comparison to animals. But again, that's not something.
Wait. But is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying when you say appropriate? Or are you saying something that is over and above that, like, well, there's some sort of moral reason that you shouldn't do it, or that there's some sort of lack of analogy that means you shouldn't do it
Both.
beyond? Okay, so the interesting thing for me, and so the later thing, I would put into a separate category. It's not going to be the number two thing. The number two thing is just to say that it's a check on the terms. The term check is is the term you're using for this state of affairs denotatively accurate? That's one. And the second check is if it is denotatively accurate, is it misleading in connotation? So in the case of Gaza, there's a way you can make it denotatively accurate by using the second definition in the dictionary for Holocaust, by using the term large slaughter or destruction on a mass scale, or so that term, instead of using the first sense of the term in the first entry. However, that would succumb to a connotative misleadment. It would be connotative misleading because it is, when people hear that, they're going to hear the first sense, and it's going to come with all the connotations like gas chambers, like industrial killing, and all of those things that happened in the Holocaust, but absolutely did not happen in Gaza. So even if someone wants to make the standard terms that they might find in the dictionary work denotatively, it'd be connotatively misleading.
Right.
The issue is, though, does that apply to the animal case and animal agriculture? So that's the second. To be clear on what the second thing is, the first thing is just to make sure we all understand what we're doing.
Right, but that's what I was trying to get away from that discussion and get to the actual thing that offended me the most, is knowing that the word harms Jewish people or African Americans, knowing that it doesn't help the cause. Or if you disagree with those studies, that's fine. So at best, let's say it doesn't hurt the cause, but it doesn't help the cause. I'll even give you that. That it doesn't actually. You have to admit it. Certainly, if you go up to someone and say that, there's a chance that it's going to turn people off that are on the fence. But regardless of that, let's just assume it doesn't help or hurt, but it does hurt African Americans and Jews. What is the win? What is the positive reason? What is the benefit of doing something knowing that it actually is going to hurt Jews objectively or hurt African Americans? As like I said, I've worked with groups in the last 32 years that have fought against appropriation in animal campaigns and in the abortion movement, which also uses that same language. We've done everything we can advocate against it, and to use other words. What's the harm in using another word if it's not actually helping your movement? I understand if it was helping the movement, then you could say the ends justify the means. We're going to hurt some Jews. We're going to desecrate the Holocaust a little bit. We're going to, spit on the legacy of slavery, but we're going to improve our veganism numbers and save some animals.
Yeah. So then I take this. So there's a lot there, but I take this just getting back into the organization. I take this to be that. So you don't want to discuss. Just make sure we're all on the same page in terms of the terms we're using. You don't want to discuss whether the term is denotatively accurate or connotatively misleading. Those are things you don't want to talk about. You do want what you want to talk about.
That's an actual debate. That's an actual debate, right?
Well, I think this is also an actual debate. It's an empirical debate. You want to discuss the empirics of whether this term usage has certain state of affairs that it impacts upon the world, whether that be harming Jewish people or whether that be.
I don't know how many Holocaust survivors you've interviewed, but I've stood with many Holocaust survivors.
I've interviewed quite a few. I've actually done meta-analyses on the Holocaust. Let's not bring our experience.
Well, I mean, that's where my views come from. So I actually, in my advocacy, spoke to Holocaust survivors that literally were crying hearing people comparing the abortion or animal rights to Holocaust.
No, I understand, and there are Holocaust survivors that have used that term.
Of course, they're probably vegans themselves, but yeah.
No. They've also used the term Holocaust to describe it in the animal situation.
Right. But I mean, obviously, an outlier is not going to. Yeah.
Well, no, I understand, but the question you understand. Like, no. That I understand that, but the point here is just that I'm not sure that the anecdote battle from both of us who both have experience with Holocaust survivors who have both done work and research on the Holocaust.
Well, forget the anecdote. Do you think it hurts anyone?
I think it hurts some people and benefits other people. I don't know on net what the
That's
net
my
effect
point. Who does it benefit?
I think it benefits various groups and hurts various groups. And I think even Jewish people, I was benefited by hearing that term. I'm a Jew, in that context. I'm not gonna. The way to resolve something like that is what you've attempted to do, I think, which is to post certain papers. I don't think those papers do the job there. I think they
Well, you'll have to
mostly.
show why. I mean,
Yeah. Well, mostly, we can go through them.
no, I mean, I don't know if we can do that now, but yeah, like obviously you can't just hand wave away them, but yeah.
No, I'm not hand waving it away. I've read them. I've read them. Some of them aren't papers. Other ones don't actually address the term at all.
Do you have alternative papers that say using Holocaust
I don't think
exploitation appropriation?
I actually don't think there is. Applying the same type of criteria I would to any other scientific discussion, like whether I'm talking about does Tylenol cause autism, or does vaccines cause autism? Does this prevent? Is this drug effective? Like any other, and applying the same criteria, my view is that I don't think we really have a whole lot of good data, or if any data on the efficacy of this term or the harms of this term. And that includes the effect that it has on including Jewish people, especially. And I also think there's different ways that the term can be used. One of the things the papers brought attention to is that it's used for shock value. When I use the term in that context, I definitely don't use it for shock value. Nor is anyone shocked by the way I use it. Especially so. But I grant that there are certain people who can use it in that context, like Holocaust. But so my view on that, on the empirical thing, is just that I don't think we have one good reason or another to do that, and the residual reasons for doing that, if someone were to do it, is if they just think that's a denotatively accurate and connotatively apt term to use. If they don't have any motivating factors one way or the other, they would just resort
so why can't
to.
Why can't they use a different word where it guarantees it doesn't hurt a single Jew or African American?
My goal wouldn't be to use a term that guarantees it doesn't hurt a single Jew or African American. Then I wouldn't be using a whole lot of words that I use on a regular basis.
Mass animal slaughter,
No, that hurt. Well, that actually has hurt some Jews, and
you think that's worse for Jews than saying Holocaust?
Just think. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I think that a lot of our intuitions on this are fucked, to be honest with you. I think I understand the intuition pump. But it depends how you do it. Like, I understand, like, if someone is doing it in the way you see people on Twitter do it, if you're asking me to speculate, then sure. I think that if someone were to listen to the way I do it and my reasons why, I don't think it would harm Jews. I don't think, I think, or at least on net, or black people for that matter.
I mean,
in fact,
it's kind of like, I equate it to blackface. Like, yeah, can you show me a study? I mean, like, it's basically like you're trying to, not you, maybe you don't use it that way. Maybe you're an outlier, but the way I've seen it, it's like blackface. People are going and saying, look, I'm holding up a sign, animals are being killed, it's a genocide, and you're wearing blackface. It's like slavery.
Yeah. Do you think that there's different ways people could do blackface that might be, that might on net harm or on net might benefit black people?
No.
So you think all contexts of black people?
I don't think I would ever choose as a white Jew.
No, that's not what I asked. I'm not asking that. So I'm asking, the question is not what you would choose. Question is, do you think that in all contexts, someone doing blackface, in any context where someone does blackface, it will always cause more harm to blacks than benefit?
Yes, and I think it's the same thing with Holocaust exploitation, appropriation. I think there's just I have a 100% no tolerance policy.
So you take the same. So you think that it's a matter of empirics, like it's just the state of affairs in the world.
Where would a white person doing blackface, outside of like a theater or something, like?
Wait, you just provided a context. The theater that is a context.
Well, yes, but you know what I mean. Like, obviously, that's
but hold on. So the question I asked you is like, do you
No,
think
I meant
that all
doing it to try to shock someone, to try to provoke someone that it's
But
slavery.
then you go again with shocking. I'm not using it to shock people, and with the Holocaust, I'm not.
But that's
again.
but
That's the
I've
thing
never
with
seen it
your
used.
studies.
I've never seen it used the way you use it. So my
Okay,
point
so
is,
maybe as you close this space, I know you only have 10 minutes left or 5, but as maybe we should talk about how I use it and how I think that unfortunately,
But-
if you've been.
but like
if
that's
you-
like saying we should talk about how I use blackface. Like again, like why just not use it? I don't like.
Well,
I
no.
understand.
If there's a case to use it, if there's some term that's
But there has to be a benefit. What's the benefit?
Yeah, it's denotatively. The benefit is it's denotatively accurate and connotatively not misleading.
Well,
and yet
obviously, I disagree on the first, but the problem is even if we agree,
hold on. Wait. Yeah, even if we agree, but the
I don't
reason
see a benefit.
Okay, I understand you don't see a benefit, but
well, you said yourself there's no
typically-
studies. You admit
No,
yourself there's no conclusive
but I
studies
also
that
said
show.
afterwards. Yeah, but I also followed that up with, in the event where there is no empirical data to do it one way or the other, we would fall back to the things that we have done in our experience, or other sort of motivations. In my experience, when I've used that term in the way I've used it, both for Jews and non-Jews, I haven't found that. In my anecdotal experience, that it's done the things that you're suggesting. That could be due to the way I'm using it differently.
That's anecdotal, though.
You're right; it's anecdotal, but I just said I'm not presenting it being anecdotal over and above the data,
right?
In the context where we don't. But so you saying it's anecdotal doesn't add anything there.
Well, but basically, okay, so like, but I also have talked to my vegan friends, and they also find it horrifically offensive, and they say it doesn't represent the vegan movement, and I agree.
So I agree that two different people can come to different conclusions anecdotally. I just don't think that it would one anecdote battle would really.
No, but my point is, if there was something racially insensitive that was going to harm a single person in the world, I'd never do it for the rest of my life. And you're saying if there's a benefit to animals, it's okay to sacrifice.
Well, I don't share that principle. If there was like some racially,
so we have different principles on morality of appropriating, the Holocaust or slavery. That's my point.
I don't think wait. What do you mean that it's appropriating? Because that's another buzzword that gets thrown around.
Well, that's technically what it is.
Well, what is it? What do you mean? No, I didn't ask if it is it. I'm asking what do you mean by appropriating?
Well, how do you define appropriation?
No, you're the one who invoked the term. I just want to know what you mean by it.
What I mean by Holocaust appropriation?
Or what do you mean by the term appropriation?
Well, using it for another cause. Like,
okay, if the term, even if it's in another sense, is used for another cause,
right?
Yeah. So basically, if someone analogized slavery for another cause other than like the liberation of slavery that happened historically in the United States, then they would be appropriating the movement to liberate the slaves.
The way I view it is like the problematic use of Holocaust symbolism,
can you answer
narrative, or what?
Because you just told me that your notion of appropriation would be to use the term for the other cause. So then my question to you is that if someone made an analogy to slavery for a different, and that cause that they're doing it for is not the historic account of slavery in the United States or in any other historic account of slavery, you would say that they're appropriating the plight of African slaves or something.
It depends how they use it. So if you're saying,
no, I know you already told me how you're using it, term. Well, wait, how?
Well, you didn't let me finish my definition. So, like, basically, like I said, it's the problematic use of Holocaust symbolism, narrative, or analogy for the purposes that do not honor or accurately represent its historical meaning, often resulting in the trivialization and distortion of one of history's gravest atrocities. That's the definition.
You're baking in the normative term problematic there. So that's so when you say so.
Well, I mean, because like I said, I view using the word Holocaust for anything other than the one and only Holocaust.
I know you do, but I didn't ask what you use. So I asked this. I'm asking you what you view appropriation as. You told you initially. Well, yes, and then I'm pointing out to you that in what you read back to me. Well, the first thing you read back to me was if you're using it for another cause. The second thing you read back to me was longer, but it also involved normative terms that weren't clear themselves, which is problematic. So if the normative notion problematic is baked into the definition of appropriation, then yes, any form of appropriation is going to be problematic if the word problematic is part of the definition. But that's just going to be some analytic relation, and it's not going to give me clarity on why this action would fall under appropriation then. Because why? How do I know then if I'm using this account for another cause if it is in fact problematic? How do I know that it's the problematic way of doing it versus the non-problematic, if there is any non-problematic way of doing it?
That's
So
where we go.
definition
That's where I
apply.
believe any use ever under any circumstance is problematic. That's my
I know.
point.
I know.
Yeah, I
Wait,
call
so,
it going Godwin, basically. Like anytime the Holocaust gets evoked in an argument online, the argument ends and that person loses. I view that the same way in the real world. If you ever mention the
is that,
Holocaust, that's over.
I know,
and you
so I
lost.
understand you believe. So I understand that that's your view. My
Right.
question is going to be, yeah, but my question is going to be, is that just like some sort of thing in the definition? So are you just saying that?
What do you then? How do you define it differently than me? Why don't you tell me how
No,
you define?
I really, to be honest with you, I really don't like using the term appropriating. I think that's a very just.
I mean, it's technically a word.
I don't really use it that often, so I don't really have.
Well, how would you define it?
The reason I asked you, I'm not trying to just pin you on look. I'm not trying to do a gotcha by pinning you on a definition. I'm genuinely like, you use the term, and I want to know if what I'm saying fits into that term, or how, and more importantly, if that's a thing that should be avoided or not. Because it's one of those, you know how there are certain things that like they come up in the SJW type spaces where it's like, and when you actually dissect it down, like the term, you find out that like either it falls into some categories. One category it falls into is, here's the category it falls into. It's like, it's not clear why I wouldn't want to do this with the way you're defining it. Okay, you're denotatively accurate, but why do I care about appropriating in this context? There are certain contexts I could bring where it's like, okay, well, it's not actually a bad thing to appropriate by this definition of appropriate. And then there's this other thing where it's like, oh, well, yeah, all notions of appropriate are going to be bad on this definition. However, it's really not clear what I'm doing is appropriating. And so that's what I'm trying to get at. It's I'm trying to get at.
Well, you're definitely a debate, bro. I'll give you some credit on that one.
What do you mean by that?
No, like that. No, that's like a compliment. I'm not joking. Like I'm saying, like that's a good debate stuff. Like you're a good debater. It's like no sarcasm.
Okay. The reason I say that is because a lot of people like they use that term pejoratively. But look, hey, listen, I'm not going to take offense.
No.
Because I'm open.
No. It was like a joke and a compliment at the same time. I was trying to lighten the mood.
I'll tell you something. Because I'm open to different notions and different usage of terms, I will take the compliment because I understand now that you're a good debater. No. Because I'm talking about the term because I am open to different notions. No, I get it. I get it's a joke, and I'm making a joke back at you right now as it relates to the term Holocaust. Just like I'm open about the Holocaust being used in different terms, and some terms may not be toxic and not be problematic. I'm also open to the notion that debate bro is usually a pejorative term used by assholes and idiots, quite frankly.
That's true. That's
true. Debate bros. But if you're going to use that in a context where you're not doing that, I'm open to that. I'm open to being a compliment.
I have it in my profile in quotations to mock those people, but at the same time, I debate people, 36 hours a month online. So obviously, I like debating. But okay. So I mean, look. I mean, at the end of the day, like this is obviously a longer conversation.
Sure. And no, I understand. And I came. Yeah. Look, I'm usually free. Look, we should have a longer conversation. I do want to talk about all three of those things, and I want to go through those papers you posted. Because I think if you really just applied the same standard, I think you come to the same conclusion that we really don't. Like this is really not something.
Look, obviously, I didn't. This was only research that I did in the last 2 days. Did spend a lot of time on it, but I will say this. Obviously, I didn't go through every single paper like I would for like a vaccine paper or something if I was going to talk about it on a debate. My point in posting those, and by the way, I found like 30 others. I just didn't want to read 48.
There's more than 30.
Yeah, I didn't see a single paper that showed that using sort of extreme rhetoric or Holocaust, comparisons or slavery comparisons actually helped.
There is absolutely publication bias in the literature. I agree with you there.
Well, I mean, that seems like a hand-waving argument to say that it's biased if it's not conforming your
I'm being facetious.
belief.
I'm being facetious. But I do actually suspect that there is. I think there is.
So, like, even if you were right, and every single one of those papers
and by the way,
is wrong,
I would run a funnel plot to actually get an indicator that there is selection bias in the literature toward this view. But you know what the problem is? The problem is none of these fucking papers have actual real point estimates on the question in the first place to even run a funnel plot on. So that should give you an indication of the quality of the papers that do this argumentation against this. Yeah.
Okay, so but my point is, let's say you're right, and every single one of the 50 papers I saw is 100% invalid, and that it doesn't hurt the movement, but it just you break even basically. Basically, that rhetoric doesn't help.
Yeah,
doesn't
then
hurt.
you fall back. Then, like I said, you'd fall back to your. Then you'd fall back. We're going to be back in our anecdotal territory, and
no, that's not what would happen in my opinion. In my opinion, then it would come down to your moral question. Now it's not going to help. It's not going to hurt, but it's not going to help.
Well, no, it's not that. It's not that you don't know it's gonna. No, it's that you don't have this level of evidence that it'll hurt or help. You have a weaker level of evidence in a different direction.
Okay, would you agree if you knew it was going to hurt, you wouldn't use it? Like, can we at least establish that?
Oh yeah, sure. If it's going to cause it, yeah. If you make a case that the term has. Look, I'll tell you this. Like
what's your actual position, dude? What's your actual position?
Hold on.
You've been talking for 30 minutes. What's your actual position?
It's his first time in the space. I'm trying to be respectful.
Exactly. I don't know what his point is.
And also, Avi didn't help me.
Do you think animal agriculture is a holocaust?
Hey, whoa, JT, chill, everyone, chill out. Let's finish this conversation.
Yeah. Just to tell you, confirm the answer is yes. There is a reason that I don't often use the term Holocaust for these debates. Do you know why?
Said yes. He said yes.
What? I don't know what this is. Okay.
JT, I'll get to you. I'm at Target getting a college rule notebook for my daughter, so I got a little extra time.
So there is a disutility to why I don't use the term Holocaust here. And why I sort of stopped using it. I don't really use it very often at all, if at all, for the animal agriculture. Do you know what that disutility? Do you have an idea what that disutility might be? That I have, and that's anecdotal, by the way. But the disutility is every time I use the term, I have to get into this whole side debate and side step because everyone bitches about the term. It's like that is the issue. I have to get into this. I have to get into whether it's denotatively accurate or connotatively misleading. I have to get into what we're talking about. I have to go into the basics of how analogies work. Then I have to go into these. Oh, like why would you do this? What's the so like I have to. So these conversations are exactly why I don't use. But that's not any. But that's a sort of like artifactual disutility of that sort of meta. It's not really the sort of disutility that you'd probably be getting at.
Okay. So
yes,
the matter
of yes, though. If I did have reason to believe it's disutility, I wouldn't do it, and I actually don't.
Good. That's a good faith answer.
But it's because of this reason. It's because of this artifactual disutility. And by the way, the evidence for which is anecdotal.
Okay. So my point is, so you admit if it actually hurt the movement, you wouldn't use it. That's other people said they don't care; they would still use it. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
Well, I'd probably use it less. I'd still use it in other contexts where I was less convinced that it wouldn't hurt the movement. Like if I was talking to a friend or whatever, like in private or.
But like, yeah, would you go into a group of Holocaust survivors and use it? Would you go into a group?
No, if there were again, if you're gonna stipulate that there's this utility in certain contexts, like I'm not gonna go in public in that context and start doing
So like one person said that he believes that what's happening to animals is worse than slavery, and I said, would you tell an African American person on the street that what he's doing, being non-vegan is worse than slavery? Would you tell him that he's worse than a slave owner? And but he said no, he wouldn't do that. So he knew he was wrong, but still used it.
But did you stipulate to him that there would be that negative disutility to the movement or did you just take that as a granted assumption?
No, it's a granted assumption.
That's a different question then. But that's a different question because in this question you asked me, you've already stipulated into the hypothetical that it would have
but this is a completely different question. I'm saying, do you believe that would be offensive to go up to an African American and say what you're doing with your diet is worse than a slave owner, being a slave owner?
I think in some cases, if by offensive you mean would they take offense to it?
Should you carry ice in case what the appropriate response happens?
I would suspect that a certain subset of them would get angry and may even attack me.
I would hope most would, because I mean, don't you?
I would
feel like
hope
that's
most wouldn't, because that's illegal. Well, no, I would hope most wouldn't, because that's illegal, and you shouldn't just start
Oh
hitting
well,
people.
no,
Because you're
I know.
offending.
In a world where
I would hope they would also engage in the terms before they start attacking you anyway, and they would try to have a conversation.
well, my point is, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that because you don't want to cause trauma to someone, right? And so that's my whole point. That is traumatic to hear that for certain people.
Okay, so yes, I agree. So if the term Holocaust, if anytime I use that, I took a risk of getting it physically attacked, then yes, to answer your question, I wouldn't.
Well, forget about the physical part. Forget about the physical part. What if it just like morally hurt someone?
Yeah, then it would be a question of on net. So if on net it would start hurting people and pose no further benefit, and all else was a wash, then no. I'm not convinced. To be clear, I'm not convinced that that's the case. But sure, to answer your question, in your hypothetical stipulated question, yes.
Okay, so you seem a lot more reasonable than some of the people I've been talking to online, who seemed a little more extreme in their views.
That's not a high bar when you're comparing it to Twitter online, just to be clear. So I'm not.
Oh, I mean, me and you know, as we deal with the anti-vax movement or the anti-Israel movement, absolutely. So I appreciate your candor on that. And we probably agree more than we disagree, even though we have some big disagreements overall on this issue.
Yeah. Okay. So to wrap up, the things we would want to talk about are, or at least things I would want to talk about. You probably have more interest in the third one, but things to talk about are, I would like to posit, just making clear we're clear on what that term usage is, what it means denotatively and connotatively. Number two, if it is denotatively accurate, if it is connotatively misleading. I guess I would add how it's being used, because obviously you can use a denotatively accurate term and connotatively misleading or non-misleading term in different ways that are like, in one that we would all have intuitions that would line up with yours. Some we would not. So there's that. We may disagree with that, but that's fine. And then really,
yeah. Oh, sorry. Finish. No, finish. Yeah, and I have a question for you.
And then really, then the third would be the empirics, because I don't think there's good reason that to suspect that there is this purported efficacy differential despite the claims otherwise.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say I've evaluated all those papers and I conclusively think that it's negative. I just think, I don't know, I'm a layman, I'm not in your movement. So me, common sense wise, as someone on the fence, if I heard that, especially as a Jew, especially as a Holocaust advocate, it would turn me off on the movement. But at the same time, obviously that's anecdotal. Is Greta Thunberg, or what's her name? Is she a vegan?
I don't think she. Look, I don't know if she is, but what I can tell you is that when she came to Gaza, she was offered the first time, not the second time on the flotilla, but the first time she was offered either a turkey or pastrami sandwich, and she took it and she ate it. So, she didn't just eat the bread and not the turkey. She didn't do any of that. She actually just straight up ate it. She ate it. Like, I saw it. Okay. So if she was a vegan, it doesn't seem like she is all that vegan now.
Another question. I know we're going a little over, but it's okay. I had to stop at Target to get a college ruled notebook for my daughter. But why are so many anti-Israel accounts vegan?
I actually don't know the tally on this, so I can answer that. If it turns out to be on that most anti-Israel accounts are vegan, I think that just has to do with an overlap of SJW vegans, which we are not part of, to be clear, and nor are we part of the anti-Israel vegan group. That's super cringe. Okay. But so to be clear, I think it just has to do with an overlap of this sort of vegan social justice variant of advocacy or politics as it relates to veganism, and there's a good amount of them there, and it's not coming from the vegan aspect of their position. It's coming from the social justice toxicity and everything there. Why they're anti-Israel. Almost every, I think in my community at least, it's generally Zionist vegans. It's generally, or at least not of like vehemently anti-Israel. It's also, and it's also not really SJW. So.
And what do you think about attacking Jewish customs or kashrut as being evil, as some people attacked me in the last 5 days?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So when it depends what you mean by attack. I can. There's a sense in which I like to respect religion, but I'm going to give my honest view on, like, if someone asked me about my view on halal slaughter, just like kosher slaughter, I'll give my view. I'll also point to halakha itself and point to that there's actually halakhic rulings on this, that this act, like the current system of animal agriculture, is actually not really actually necessary, and also, like, if for lab-made meat, it actually would be preferable. And I could point you to that ruling on that. So I 2 points I would make. First, the answer to your question is I would give my
Try to keep it quick. Sorry.
Yeah, I would give my honest view, and 2 is I would actually push back on the religious notions of, themselves as they are necessary. I don't know what, but again, I don't know what you mean by attack.
They said I'm part of an evil religion that does evil
okay,
things.
No, I'm not going to say okay. No, so if that's the sort of thing you're talking about, that's not the approach I would take.
Okay,
I'm not saying you're part of an evil religion.
What about some of this other hateful rhetoric? I'm worse than a rapist. I'm evil for being non-vegan. Like, does that really help? I mean,
I don't think you're worse than a rapist. I just don't think you've really thought that much about this issue. To be honest with you, that's my assessment right now. I think, like, you've.
Well, I told you I had a very long discussion with my vegan friend who actually converted me to, go more into animal rights activism, but not necessarily veganism fully.
Listen, I made some viral posts, and you were going back and forth with some vegans, and somehow you managed to drown out the notifications of my viral posts with 20 plus notifications. And and every time I was scrolling through that, which, by the way, good job. That's impressive. I didn't think anyone could do that.
Try me. That's my specialty.
Yeah. That's the first time I've ever seen someone manage to do that.
Don't feed his ego, man. His head's big enough.
Yeah.
But the point is that I've never seen so much relentless back and forth with both sides not really getting what each other is saying. So that's part of what I say. Like, I don't think it's not necessarily like you haven't thought about it. It's like, I don't think you've really appreciated what at least certain views have said about it, or at least certain views just not have said about it. Certain other positions. Yeah. So that's what I think. I think if you did so. Yeah, so I don't. That's my view. I don't think.
Well, what about the belief that some people want a dictatorship?
Am I cutting out, or are you cutting out?
Oh, am I cutting out, guys?
Now I
no, not at all.
Okay, some people want a vegan dictatorship where it's forced by law to be a vegan. I've heard so many crazy things. They want to murder every animal in the world. They want to genocide, non-vegans. They want to send the world to space outside the Earth because the Earth is not compatible with humanity. Like, do you think this stuff?
Okay, so there's a lot there.
I know. What I'm saying is, like, does this?
I don't know what send the Earth to space means, because the Earth is already in space, but.
I'm just saying, overall, some of these extremist things, you have to agree a lot of this is for lack of a better term, clout chasing, or just trying to rage.
Well, maybe I think some of that might be okay, so if you're asking the motivation why some people might say it, some might be trying to do a shock thing, some might be doing clout chasing. I don't know. To answer all those questions, like, largely my answer would be no for all the pragmatic reasons. I would say no for any other political view or whatnot, even if I thought the world would be a better place if everyone was of a given, like, I think the world would be a better place if we didn't have a whole bunch of terrorist supporters. But if you're going to ask me, should we go to pro-Palestinian protests and start gunning people down, I'm going to say no. And there's a whole bunch of pragmatic reasons why I'm going to say no for that. And it's going to be similar pragmatic reasons why I'm going to say no in this case. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what you're.
No, look, like I said, I've known vegans my whole life. I've just never seen some of these statements uttered by a vegan. So I have to assume that they don't represent the majority of vegans, at least anecdotally. My whole point of doing this space, outside of criticizing some of that rhetoric, is trying to find a way to bridge this hate. And why can't people who are vegan and not vegan get along and actually work towards some positivity to improve the world for animals? Is that possible? Because I feel like there's so much money and funding and finance and manpower that can be used if you allyship with non-vegans. But I've heard from certain vegans that they don't want to ally with people who they consider,
Okay, I don't know what vegans you're talking about, because like, from the vegans I've worked with who are actually in companies that are in the business of getting funding, they wouldn't say that at all. They do partner and ally and get funds. I mean, in fact, every company I think I could ever think of that I ever worked with, every vegan company, many of which are lab-made meat companies, but there's also even nutritional companies that I've spoken with. But they are all not. I don't know anyone of them who would say we don't want to partner and receive the money of non-vegans. Like that seems insane to me. So I don't.
I've seen that from vegans. I've seen people say that they don't want it. Yeah.
Right, but sure, and I can point to you crazy things that non-vegans.
Right. That's my whole point. They don't represent. That's my point. They don't represent vegans. Vegans are 99% amazing people, just like non-vegans are. But there is a high, you know, at the top, the extremism. That's what this whole space is about. Extremism. It's not about veganism. I love veganism. It's about the extremism.
Right. So I agree. If what you're saying now is that, you know, extremists exist among vegans and non-vegans, I agree. I think that's a bit divorced from the topic of the term usage being denotative or connotative, or or the data behind that. But sure, would
you agree that the extremists in the vegan community are more apt to use a term like that than the non-extremists?
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to be able to use it and defend it in the way I would. I don't think that they, you know, I don't think they'd be the ones spelling out like, okay, the reason I'm using it is because of the denotative accuracy, and here's why the connotative reasons to use that. I also don't think that there would be the sort of things that you would be saying like, oh, you're just an evil religion, or yeah, you're worse than not, like those sorts of like tactics, those sorts of shock tactics that you mentioned. So yeah, I mean, I think to answer your question, I think they probably would be more likely to do it, although I don't think they would be likely to do it in the same way. It's like, again, the blackface. It's like, yes, extremists are more likely to go to the black community in the blackface, but I also don't think I think they're probably less likely to do blackface in the theater.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, people were messaging me that even they're offended by even it being done in the theater, and I kind of can see that as well. I think in 2025, I don't think blackface should really be done, but I guess.
Okay, so maybe there isn't. Maybe the set of, you know, non-offensive blackface is empty currently. Maybe that's not a good analogy. The analogy would then be just like there are certain things that might be okay. If we want, we could use, you know, we can use. There are certain terms in certain contexts that might be offensive to certain racial groups, but in other contexts they might not be.
Okay. All right. So look, sorry to rush you. Hey, I personally have to step away, but I'm willing to let the space continue because we have a good thing going here. If our co-hosts, Dr. John, can you go a little later? I can see if Berkey wants to replace Zach.
I'm good for right now.
Because, you know, I appreciate the conversation. I think early on, you know, obviously if people were hyped up in emotions, I was definitely at it. And so I think this was my favorite part of the space as far as having a good faith back and forth discourse. So I appreciate that, Avi. But I know other people want to respond and not hear from me.
Okay, so before I go again, I would just say, we should probably talk more then later. And I think you should also you should probably have like a more lengthy conversation with Ask Yourself as well. I think I actually do. I think maybe he comes off. Sometimes he may come off a bit more abrasive than I do.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, no, yeah, I got it.
You don't want to know the things he's saying.
Listen. I've heard that he comes off more abrasive, or a lot more abrasive than I do. But I think that if you had a more private conversation with him, then I think you'll find that maybe those undertones would be different, and fundamentally the content of what he's saying, you might agree. I think you probably would agree.
Perhaps doubtful. I'll end this by saying, like I said to you before privately, this isn't something where I'll ever change my mind the rest of my life. It's a fundamental part of who I am as far as using Holocaust, the word, for anything else other than the Jewish Holocaust. But I can understand, at least from your perspective, where you at least try not to use it in more harmful ways, and you at least made sense more than some of the other people. So I'll give you credit on that.
Okay. I'm not trying to change your mind, by the way. I'm just trying to I just want, my main goal isn't to really even change your mind. It's more so to make sure, to make sure we're actually even just on the same page about what we're talking about. But sure, I think I've done that a little bit.
It's okay for people to disagree. I mean, if it wasn't, then everyone would be the same, right?
Well, we still have other differences, but sure. Yeah. That's fine. Okay, we'll talk at some point later then.
Okay. Thank you so much, Avi. And I'm going to bring the space over to our co-host as I take a break to put my kids to bed.
Good stuff. Have a good
Feel
one,
free to
guys.
stick around if you want, and thank you so much. Okay,
Bye.
Dr. John.
I'm here. Is Zach leaving?
Yeah, I'll probably leave. I've been busy marinating and cooking this chicken, and I'd like to eat the meal. If you don't mind.
No
Oh,
reason for that. No
how
reason for that, dude. Come
appropriate.
on, man.
What did he
Man.
say that was wrong?
It's not raw.
No,
We're just messing with him. We're just
yeah,
messing
we're
with him.
messing with him.
Yeah.
He's
All
doing the
right.
best thing for his health.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go put my kids to bed. So enjoy the space.
All right. Was Jay? I saw Swampy, but he's gone. JT, did you have something you were gonna say?
I just wanted, I mean, all through all that, I just wanted to see what his position was. Did he agree with the term Holocaust for animal agriculture or not? He said a lot, and but we didn't even get his position.
I think overall he agrees on using it in limited form, the way he uses it, not in any. I'm pretty sure that's his position.
Yeah.
I think so too, because like in a post, was it yesterday, the day before, he basically said it was okay to use it to describe that. So
Okay, so he's obviously he believes that animals are being holocausted. Okay, that's what I wanted to find out. He just kept
well, I
attacking the
think,
position.
I
The
think,
sophistry, saying a bunch of stuff.
I
That's his
mean,
style.
Without
I know
saying,
that's him.
yeah,
I mean, I get it.
I
yeah.
agree, but I mean that's
No,
kind of.
I'm agreeing with you, JT. I'm just saying that it's very cheesy.
100. Yeah, he's not here, so I'm not gonna. I tried to get him when he was here, but now he's left. So
Oh, my
I don't want to
apologies,
say
mate.
anything. I mean, I know the guy's reputation. I've heard him before. It's just the same dribble, you know.
It's
Although I
so
thought
like
he
privileged.
gave.
Like I feel like there's so many people in the world suffering. So many kids going to bed at night without food. There's so many atrocities. Look at what's happening in the Congo, and these people are fixated that we have animal agriculture that has been around since the existence of humanity. And without this, without harvesting nutrients from animals, human beings would not exist. That's what the anthropologists say. And these guys are in their privileged position, have access to supplements, have access to advanced testing and medical care, and they're pontifying why it is better